Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, May 23rd, 2019. As I call the meeting to order, before we get into our regular business, if we could just please rise for our pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So we'll start off with our consent agenda. I will make a motion to approve regular session minutes of May 15th, 2019, governance subcommittee minutes of April 29th, 2019, safety subcommittee minutes of May 9th, 2019.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on those? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We don't have our student rep here tonight because I think there's something going on at the high school that she may be partaking in. So we could just maybe fill in a couple of the big things that are coming up. Next Friday is the seniors' last day, and it's also the senior prom.
Junior prom.
Senior and junior prom, right, at the Danversport Yacht Club. The kids are expected to be at the school for 5 o'clock for the Grand March, and then they'll proceed over to the prom. I wish them the best. I hope they have a great time and a safe evening. And then I do also want to remind people about the senior trip that is taking place on June 6th and 7th. That's going to be kicking off at American Legion Park right after the awards ceremony. So the kids are expected to be down there for 1 o'clock. The Kiwanis group is gonna have a barbecue again, which is very nice of them to do that. We have 69 students going, and we have 6 chaperones. And yeah, it's great. And I'm proud to say that we have a couple of previous Georgetown graduates that will be chaperoning for us.
That's awesome.
We had some difficulty getting some parents to commit because it's such a busy time. So we had a few previous graduates, and one is an EMT, which I'm really happy about, so that will be good, so things will, not that
Are you all set now for chaperones?
we are all set
Okay.
for chaperones, thank you.
Okay.
Not that we'll need an EMT, but it's always nice to have one there just in case of a bee bite or something. Hopefully that will be the worst that they'll see. What else is going on?
We have
You
a
thinking
spring
of?
art show, right, Martha? Yeah.
Spring art show.
on the 29th,
Okay,
which is exciting. And then I was just talking today to Mr. Richards because they're going to have therapy dogs come into the school for a couple of days, right?
during
So,
exams?
well, they're gonna try it during senior exams and then the underclass exams as well. So Mr. Prescott's been kind of coordinating that. We call him the big cat. We said the big cat's coordinating the dogs. But I think the kids are gonna really appreciate that, and we're gonna try it out. you
Good.
know, so that's next week, right? Tuesday, I wanna say Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but I could be wrong on that. I thought that's what he said today. Oh, he taught me to take a picture on my phone. It's on my phone somewhere.
So then the senior showcase is tomorrow night, you said
Showcase
at
is
7?
tomorrow night. At
Okay.
7, and, yeah, and then you said the prom, so.
Yeah, so there's a
Yeah,
lot, there's a
and
lot
then
of
the
things
awards,
happening.
so your senior awards are on that 31st. And you know, Mr. Richards and I talked about.
The senior awards are on the
sorry, the-
6th, June 6th.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry, what am I thinking? Graduation rehearsal, okay, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I know, cause the reason the 31st was sticking in my mind is because, you know how we've talked over the years about wanting to do where the graduates go to the elementary school, and so we were like really excited to do that this year, but then logistically, it's not gonna work because they have rehearsal, so they'll get their caps and gowns, but then they have the prom that night, so they're not gonna, normally I think they'd be happy to sort of go on over, so that is something we're gonna do next year, we put it on the calendar. And
Okay, well, I'm gonna hold you to it and you to
Yeah.
it, because I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, we
We've been
do too.
trying to do that for the last
Yeah.
couple of
It's
years.
the timing, right?
Yeah.
Cause the prom is
That's
late
great.
this year, so we are gonna do that, right, Mr. Richards?
It's at a fabulous place, the Danversport Yacht Club,
Yes.
and it was probably the only
Yes.
night that they were available.
Oh, I'm
I'm
sure, yeah,
imagining.
probably.
Yeah,
Okay, so any other dates that you
just-
wanna,
I'm just trying to,
Or what,
at the middle high school, I don't think so, do you have anything else, Dan?
We just did the roaming culture.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
Showcase. It's more of a showcase
that was
where
awesome.
the major departments got together and they were studying the ancient Roman culture, and they invited parents in. They had an Italian luncheon for everyone, and kids showcased their projects, their research papers. There was a skit, and the whole third floor was alive with parents and kids going back and forth. It was really energetic.
So that was the middle school?
That was
That's
the middle
seventh
school,
and
yes.
eighth grade. But
That's
in
right.
the other thing, today, the eighth grade did a wonderful Memorial Day remembrance ceremony. It was really nice. Deborah Fruscio coordinated it, but all the kids, participated and picked the different things they wanted to showcase. Like someone taught about taps, spoke about taps, and then one of the kids played taps, and they talked
that's
about
always so
Gold Star.
emotional
They talked about
when they
Gold
do that.
Star families and how that works, and they recognized each of the veterans, and then they handed out when you came in the door, they handed out a strip of paper, and on the paper was actually someone who, was killed in action. And they asked that you read it and remember, that person, and I thought it was just very nicely done. But you could tell the kids did it, because it was in their voice, in their language. And then they did, the kids chose a song, they chose Proud to Be an American. But what was really neat is it wasn't like the chorus singing it, it was any kid in the eighth grade that wanted to, and the risers were full of kids, and so it just was I think it was nice. I think there were more veterans there this year, so usually there's Doug Dawes and maybe, one or two, and I think there were like 8 or 9 this year, and there were some parents there, so I think it will grow. And of course, tomorrow is
Denver.
Margaret and I have been going back and forth on the weather. Please pray for no rain.
Is it not supposed to be nice?
We're wanting to do it outside.
Tell us
It
so
looks
nice.
pretty good.
It's wonderful.
It's
Yeah, it
always
looks
so
pretty
nice.
good.
Current
The other
looks
day
good.
it was like, we're sitting there,
Yeah.
it was like,
Windy,
70%
windy.
chance of rain. Oh, and then we looked again, it was like 97% chance of rain.
There's
But
no
we-
rain.
I
Just
think it's gonna
wind.
be fine. We just think positive for that, but.
And what time will that start?
Mark, what time does it start?
9:30.
9:30, okay.
And because if it was inside, we were really gonna have to worry about numbers, because I don't know how many veterans you have coming, but usually there's 50 or 60.
Last year we had 67.
Yeah.
So.
That's amazing.
Really, if it's inside, it would have been just the veterans in the gym, and then
Right.
all families
At
would have had to be in
capacity.
the cafeteria.
Oh,
No, I just
Yeah.
have rain from 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. and
There you
after
go,
that,
perfect.
good.
moves
So,
out.
I hope you
So
have
that's gonna
those.
be tomorrow, which is really great, and the concerts at both the middle high school and the fourth, fifth, and sixth, last night were wonderful.
Good.
So it's really a wonderful time of year, there's so many great things going
Yeah.
on.
It is a busy time, but it's a wonderful time too.
Yes,
It is.
and we
Good.
just had a retirement party Suzanne and I were there for Terry Brooks, Francine Blair, and Dawn Resendez. And there were like 90 people there, a lot of retirees, former principals. Donna Tanner was there, and Rita Prezzuto, who, many of them had worked with years ago. Rita was before my time, but not a lot before my time, but she was before my time. So it just was, Brad Shute, it was just really nice to see so many people that they currently work with, and that they have worked with in the past. I think it was the perfect retirement party for them.
Yeah, they're gonna be missed. They're
Yeah.
all great.
Oh, they're gonna definitely be
Oh,
missed.
for sure.
Yeah,
for
they
sure.
were great.
All for different reasons.
Well,
but,
that's nice. I'm glad they were celebrated then.
Yes, and they, at the end of this year, cause I gave them their certificate awards, cause they won't be there in the fall. Dawn Resendez got a 20-year service award, Francine got a 20-year service award, and Terry Brooks got a 25-year
Wow.
service award, so
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome, that's a career, right?
Oh, yeah. She had 2 of my kids and 1 child twice, in kindergarten
Yeah,
and
and second grade, yeah.
She was awesome. I
Wonderful,
loved her.
wonderful people that will be missed, but very nice
Well, that's
tribute
good.
to them.
Okay, thank you for all that. Is there anyone here from the public that wants to talk about anything on the agenda tonight? Okay, so we'll move along, and I'm very happy to have Dorothy Presser here from the MASC. She's our new field representative, so we wanted to ask her to come here so we could all meet her formally.
Oh, welcome.
Well,
Thanks for
yes,
coming.
thanks for having me. I'm really pleased to meet everyone. I think you know that Mike Gilbert, who was for many years your field director, retired.
Yes.
And I have the privilege, the awesome responsibility of stepping into his shoes. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself, and just then review a little bit the services that MASC has to offer. I am not a new field director at MASC. I've actually been there 5 years. And prior to that, I consulted on developing the district governance program that we have. Prior to that, I was actually active in the organization on the board of directors. I had been president of the organization, and then, building up to that, chair of Division 1, which is the division you're in, and went up through the executive chain.
The Suburban Coalition?
Yes, that was unrelated to MASC. I was also many years president of the Suburban Coalition.
Whose hard work is now hopefully coming to fruition
Well, unfortunately,
in the Promise Act.
yes, hopefully coming to fruition. Suburban Coalition, it was an all-volunteer organization.
Yes.
And unfortunately, we had trouble recruiting new volunteers, so we actually have dissolved. After
that
we,
does
an organization that was established when Proposition 2.5 came into existence to allow smaller communities to combine their voices and be heard at the State House. And we did a lot of good things over the years.
Oh, for sure.
But with many, well over a decade of only the same 4 or 5 people leading the organization, we all kind of said, we moved on to other places in our lives, and it got harder. I also just stepped off my own school committee that I served on for 21 years. So I come to you with some experience in sitting in the seat that you're sitting in.
Wow, 21 years, that's great.
That is great.
Awesome.
That's gonna be Barbie.
I don't hold the record by any means, but it was
Wow.
it was a great experience to do that. But now I have more evenings free to come and do things like this. So just want to tell you a little bit, review. I'm sure you're familiar with a lot of the services that MASC has to offer, but just kind of review some of the services that are available to you as members of the organization. We do a lot of work with policy support. We have online our policy reference manual, so sort of model policies. If you're looking for a certain policy, the policy reference manual is there. About 80 districts host their policies online. We host their policy manual online, which makes it really easy for you if you want to see, well, what do other districts have for a policy? You can search all the policies online and kind of get samples of what other people have. We do policy reviews with committees if you feel like your policies are just out of date and in disarray and you'd like to, make sure that they get back in order. We do that. We also, as legislation changes, as regulations change, and sometimes as we review our policies and say, they seem kind of dated, maybe we need to revise them a little bit. We send out policy bulletins to let you know. We give you new sample policies as appropriate. In terms of training, you're probably all familiar with the training at our November conference. A few years ago, we started also having a summer institute in like Friday evening and Saturday morning in the summer, when you're not quite as busy with school committee things and maybe have an opportunity to pick up some of that training. We do it at sort of a combination of relevant topics at the moment and sort of some of the basics. So it's coming up the second weekend in July this year, and we're going to have a track on equity, along with some stuff on Chapter 70 and social media and role of the chair. And in addition to that, we do a lot of work in districts with committees. The district governance program that I talked about is a research-based program that works to bring the best practices of effective school committees to a committee and work with the whole committee together to develop some of those best practices and hopefully then help you sustain those through time. We do training on superintendent evaluation, on collective bargaining, on really any topic that you feel you'd like us to come and talk to you about. We do We do facilitation of workshops. Sometimes, you know, if you want to have a workshop or you want to have like a summer goal-setting workshop or something, and you might say, well, we want everybody able to fully participate and not have to worry about facilitating the day. We can come in and help do some facilitation. We also have for new members the charting the course that you're probably at one point 9 years ago or whatever familiar with, and that's an ongoing training to onboard new school committee members. We do a lot in the area of advocacy. That's one of our core missions, so to speak. We recently had our Day on the Hill, where, you know, it's the time of the year when we want to advocate for budget and Chapter 70 changes at this point in time. We let you know about our public policy priorities, so you have information if you want to advocate to your own legislators. Then we can, you know, provide you with some information around that. And some of those public policy priorities come out of our membership in terms of our delegate assembly, where members put forth resolutions, and that becomes some of our advocacy platform for the following year. In terms of resources, beyond, you know, we have sort of the pocket of policy, the pocket of training, the pocket of advocacy, and in addition to that, we want to provide you with a lot of resources that will help you do your job. The field directors are always there to answer questions about school committee work, whether it's you as an individual school committee member or the operation of the committee or the open meeting law or, you know, whatever it is that you might have a question about. We put out the Mass General Law book, so you know, you can keep up to date on what any changes in the law are that are related to legislation, provide you with legal alerts as appropriate. We have a member or a field director who goes to all the Board of Education meetings and reports out on those. We recently started a feature, I guess I can't think of the right word, but like you can sign up for an email called the Daily Ed, which gives you a compendium of articles across the state that relate to education in schools. So you can, you might be familiar with something like the master list that has sort of political articles. This is you can go in and sign up. You have to sign up. We won't send it to you without your asking. And you get in your inbox a daily list of articles related to education in schools around the state. So it's kind of interesting to keep up with what's going on. Yeah. I talked about our policy newsletter and updates on the Board of Education. We put out the Misc Report, Management Information for School Committees, which has some data it's a survey. Districts respond, and then, you know, we put out the survey of, you know, what are contracts, you know, what's sort of new in contracts, in terms of collective bargaining, in terms of maybe busing contracts. What do districts have in terms of what do they offer for, what are their fees, what do they offer for full-day kindergarten or not, and, you know, just a bunch of things that you might be interested in knowing about at some point.
And all this, like that and the Daily Ed, to sign up, you just go right on the website?
For the Misc Report, we send it out once a year. It comes on I believe at this point it comes on a CD,
Okay.
and it's sent to everyone.
I don't ever recall getting it. Nancy, have you seen it?
I've not.
What time of the year does it
Um,
come out?
That's a good question. I know we're working on it a lot over the summer, so I would assume
Okay.
sometime in the fall.
In the fall?
Yeah.
Well, we'll look for it.
I know, that
Yeah.
sounds like a really
It
neat
does sound
thing to
very
have.
nice.
It almost
Yeah.
sounds like listserv
Right.
that you go
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
you know, except
You have,
Like
what,
a
you look for
one-
Yeah.
topics.
Yeah, you know, the unfortunately, the drawback to it is if it's, the information in the report is the districts that respond to the survey.
Yeah.
So you might not, you might say, gee, I'd like to know what my 3 neighboring districts are doing, and if they
Yeah.
didn't respond to the survey, you don't have the information. But it is another source of information that we provide. And then, you know, we're on Twitter, and so forth. And we have, as you mentioned, the listserv, where members can get on and ask questions of interest and get responses from, you know, what are other districts doing around this, or what are other committees doing around this issue or that issue. And I'm always reluctant to mention in front of a superintendent that we do superintendent searches, but it is one of the services that we offer that hopefully you don't need to take too much advantage of, so.
Here, I heard it.
No, but I'm saying, she just said that you hopefully don't have to. I heard of that.
So anyway, so that's just an overview of the services that we have. I'm happy to answer any questions, or I also have a packet of information to leave for all of you. So
that's awesome.
Little, some of the information that I may not have gone to in detail, you might find some more detail. It's got my card in it. If you have any questions, I'm always there to call.
Was there anyone else on the committee with me when Mike did the summer training? Remember we had that day?
I think we were all there.
Yeah.
We were all
Oh,
there.
well, that must have been the second one,
Yeah,
because we
we did
also
one
had
before I
Rob
was
Hoover
on.
and, okay.
Right.
And that was
Yeah,
really
it's the second
enjoyable.
one.
We
It
met in the
was
summer,
That was great.
and Mike, it was more like a workshop to get to know each other better too, like we'd have questions asked by each individual member. So you know how you work well together with this, but then you don't necessarily know them
Right.
as a mom
Right.
or.
Well, we,
what
we
I mean?
often talk about if the people that you actually work with in a job, you're with so many more hours than you're
Yeah.
with this group. And you work better if you know each other better,
Yeah.
right? But there are things like the open meeting law that sometimes get in the way of that developing kind of naturally. So, having sort of a workshop to just be not as formal, and get to know each other a little bit is a great idea.
Yeah.
I find that, in the district governance work that I do, which is, we have sort of a sequence that you go through, and the first is kind of developing operating protocols, which is a little bit of getting to know each other, thinking about working style and how you work together. And then the other thing that I would think really helps committees work together well is agreeing on what the goals and the vision are. And, not having 5 different ideas of where the district is gonna go, but, agreeing on one.
Right. Right. As we do our school committee self-evaluation tonight, I just noticed that one of the things that we tend to score lower on, and by that I'm saying like still a 2, but mostly real 1s, is the educational workshops if we attend. Now, Michael has always been great in attending the MASC, MASS in November, which is awesome, and he comes back and reports everything to us. The superintendent and I went out a couple of years ago to that just for a day. And then the other one that we tend to question is the new member. So, yeah, I mean, charting the course is great, but we're talking like as soon as they get elected, and then they're scheduled to come like that next meeting, which could be 2 days later, and they're just,
We have a new member, like, orientation.
Yeah.
I think we just
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to.
Yes,
Yes.
So,
we
you
do-
know-
Finally, like.
Well, it's never really
been
come
posted.
out in the open because it hasn't,
happened. We haven't had a new member.
Yeah,
right,
Yeah.
Right, but all
so,
we have to do is get it approved and looked at and put
Right.
posted,
Yeah,
because
'cause
it's like 99% done.
Yeah, because a
Right.
lot of, and it sounds like what you're talking about, a lot more committees now are sort of developing a handbook.
Right,
So it's got,
That's what it is.
yeah,
That's what it is.
yeah, and I find, charting the course is great, but sometimes I feel like you get more out of it if you've gone to 2 or 3 meetings first, instead of going to charting the course
Can be
before you ever
overwhelming.
sit at the table,
Yeah.
because you have a little bit more, context to put
Yes.
it in, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, charting the course, it was great though. If you went to that before you even sat in a meeting, you might decide that you don't want the job.
That's why I said it's a little overwhelming. I
Yeah,
think,
it
when
is,
people
it's
first
like,
go,
that
like,
drink from the fire hose day, when you kind of.
no, I think I went to a workshop on superintendent evaluation, and I think you were the presenter of that.
At the charting.
No, no, no,
just
just
at
superintendent
Yeah.
evaluation,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I recognize.
yeah, that's honestly one of our most frequently requested workshops,
Yeah.
even though it's been around a while. Cause even committees that have been through it once, then they go do the evaluation and say, maybe we can get a little better, so we do it again. And it's gonna, actually, the rubric is in the process of being changed and being updated, so, hopefully simplified.
Simplified, that would be good.
Mm.
Yeah. And Mike did also come for the superintendent evaluation when it first got rolled out.
That's right,
Yeah.
yes, yep.
Helped us along with that. He was always a great, resource if we did have any questions, and I'm sure you're gonna be awesome too. We've already had a couple of email interactions, which I appreciate the quick response and things like that. So all we have to do, if you ever have any questions, is just email you.
Yep,
Right.
yep, email, call, either one,
That's great.
okay?
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, thanks for having me again.
No, thank you.
And I will.
That's great.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, again, for your support.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Nice to see you again. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you. That's great. Yeah, sure. Well. Yeah, that's awesome to know that we have this daily ed. I know you'll be on top of that. You know,
Sure.
which I will be too, and then that MISC, we'll be looking out for that.
Yeah, we definitely need to look at
Yeah.
that.
Good.
I've never seen that, anything like that.
Okay, so we have, school report, so we have the elementary handbook, that we have to make some, Margaret made some changes on that, we have to take a look at. Margaret, you wanna come on up? Here you go, Lisa, for it, come out.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm?
Coming from far?
Hi, Margaret. Hi there. How are you doing?
Fine, how are you?
Good.
So, I did put in your, packet the recommended changes that I'm asking for. Basically just updating dates and going through, I don't know how it happened, but I still see references to names of people that are no longer in the district, so gotta go through and change that. Then, I would like to add our district calendar, I think, to the handbook. I know, sometimes parents are looking for that information, and maybe it would be convenient just to have it right in the handbook. Then, just to update under the school visitor, to let everyone know that we do have that they need to present the ID when they come into the school. That will be scanned into the FBI sex offender database. And then, as we had discussed, I think in safety a couple months ago, I'd like to add that, basically unless you have an appointment, you're not going to be let into the school, that somebody would have to come to the office to meet you.
Can I ask a question on the first half? So
Yes.
scanned into the database, I
Right.
get. I guess two questions is, what if it comes back positive, whatever the right word is?
Right.
What happens, and what happens if that is a parent? Are
So,
they,
it's funny that
how
you would
does it
ask that.
work?
So several months ago, I got notified, Diane came in and said, it came up that somebody is, like, it was a hit.
Oh,
Like, oh my God, you're kidding me. So then Mike came, because several of us get notification that it's, and then sure enough, there it was, on my computer. So it was a parent who, did have a meeting with a teacher. So I said, well, have them meet in the conference room. And then, so then Officer Olszewski was there, Mike was there, we went into my office and we were looking. And I said, oh, why? Because the picture, no picture, but, so it came up like a double-sided on the screen. And I said, that's interesting, why are the middle initials different? And then we looked closely, and it was a hit from somebody in Florida.
Oh.
But the middle, so fortunately, the poor guy had his parent meeting, and off he went and never knew that he was this close
Well, that's good that he never knew that. That's good.
to me saying, sorry, you can't come into school. But that's what would happen, that I would have, I planned, okay, I would just say to him, again, I don't know why or what, but it's just come up that you are in the registry, and so I can't allow you to come into the school.
So they can't come into the school,
I
like,
wouldn't-
would it be beyond, like, Diane? Like, they can?
Correct, they wouldn't be able to get,
Beyond
and fortunately,
the
so I asked the teacher to have the conference in the conference room, so they weren't out into the school. So, and he never knew.
And as you said,
I-
there's
he-
many other people that get the notification and they all came.
It worked perfectly, that everyone got the notification. We came,
Right.
we looked at,
So-
like on the screen, who it was, what it was for.
Security.
But then when you're looking, okay, wait a minute, from Florida,
Yeah.
why are the names, like the middle names are different? And then what we realized is, so anyone who has that name and is in this database, it's a hit. So even if there had been 5, like all of those names would have come up. So,
So I guess
That's
my,
why you need the picture.
So maybe it needs to, yeah,
I guess
well,
I'm
the
curious,
pic-
I mean, how would that conference happen? I mean, it's certainly possible that a parent or a guardian would be in the
Right.
database.
yeah,
How, we certainly can't never meet with that parent.
that's what I mean. So the
It would be in the
conference-
conference
met
room.
in the
Exactly,
conference
right.
room.
It wouldn't be, you were saying past IM, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, they
Past
wouldn't, they
the
wouldn't
main
go
office.
into the main.
right,
Okay.
they
yeah.
wouldn't go into the
Okay,
school
that's
at
what I
all,
was
it's all
Exactly.
locked.
And
Yeah.
it's not like Officer Olszewski would be required to be in the room or anything. That
No,
would
no, it's
indicate
just
there's a
that-
problem, yeah.
And because the reality, I mean, if you think about before we had this, people live, maybe something happened years ago and they live regular, normal lives and we would never know. So,
Right.
I mean, we don't judge, it's just, now that we know, you just wouldn't be allowed to kind of enter the school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable conversation to
Right.
have with somebody,
Mm.
but you have to have it.
Right.
Yeah, and I also, I agree that it should not be the secretary, so that it would be the
Right. Oh, yes, yeah.
administrator at
And
that
the school
particular
resource
building that
officer
would
is
come
there
out.
to be a
Right.
support for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I mean, I was all prepared to have that conversation of, again, sorry,
Yeah. that'd be
So
difficult.
is that, so it's connected to the sex offender database?
right.
Is there any other database it's connected to?
No, and that's why before I put this in here, I did ask Mike Anderson, what exactly is it scanning? And that's what it scans. So it doesn't,
That's it.
Doesn't
if you had a
have
drunk
a
driving
or-
or.
Okay.
Right, just that.
Exactly. It's not a regular, yeah, it's not gonna let me know all the rest, just the sex offender.
And is that the same
Yes.
setup as the high
Same
school, as the middle high school?
Yeah, it's the
Okay.
same
Same
software.
I know it's the same software, but is the policy, is what we just discussed the same at the middle high school as well?
The secretaries in the main office, if they ever get a hit, they're instructed to let an administrator know and then handle it from there.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
So then I wanted to add to the school meals program that soda will not be allowed for lunch or snack. And it doesn't really come up often, but it did come up this year. And so seltzer water is fine, but I just wanted to put in that, we don't allow soda in school. And then we are moving to the grade 4 standards-based report card for next year. So basically just changing that it's standards-based for K to 4, and then grading scale for 5 to 6. And then one other change that is not in your handbook, but I'm going to pass this page out. So this page is from the section under Health Services and Policies. So, we had a student who was absent from school yesterday, and then last night attended the concert, and then, again, today wasn't in school and was called out for being sick.
Okay.
So I did wanna add at the bottom of, at the end of the paragraph where it says, a child may not return to school until they've been fever-free without medications and/or have not vomited for 24 hours. I'd like to add, in addition, if a child is not in school due to illness, the child may not attend after-school or evening activities.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, one marker talked to me about it, I thought, just talk to the committee about it and just add it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions on that? Makes sense. Okay, so right now, if a student comes in with soda, are they fine with it? They can come in until, so this-
We haven't, a student came in and I said to the teacher, you can just say, let the parent know that it's just
Frown
not,
on it.
it's frowned upon, it doesn't really meet the standards of healthy food, so,
But from a student bringing their own lunch in, or just the school-provided lunch?
even bringing their own lunch.
Okay.
Took it to be bringing their own.
Right,
Okay.
right.
'Cause we don't serve soda.
Right, no, and
No,
that's,
I knew you
yeah.
didn't, but, right.
It's just, to me, that, I know sometimes around Halloween, children will bring candy. You know, I'm not gonna say, no, you can't have candy. Although if that's all a child brought, we might reach out and say, you know, you might wanna provide something else. But soda, to me, it just a little bit over the line of, soda's not really an appropriate beverage to have in school.
Okay, so that's not much of a change.
Not really. I think we've kind of gone through over the years and
Yeah.
cleaned it up and added really what we need to.
Does anyone have any questions about those changes before I put it to vote? No? So I will make a motion to approve the 2019-2020 elementary parent-student handbook from the Pembroke School as presented by Principal Marr.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, so now we have the middle and high school handbook. Wanna come up? Principal Richards? How are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. Busy time for you?
A little
To say
bit.
the least.
All good stuff. So we have a couple of changes to the handbook
Yep.
for next year. The first page that you're looking at is a recommendation from our DESE Special Education Program Review. I'm happy to say that I'll describe it to the audience, that it's a procedure for suspension of students with disabilities. I'm happy to say that our practices reflect what their language suggestions are. And so we replaced our old language with their suggestions as part of the program review. And actually.
It was pretty thorough
Yes.
going through, I mean, and concise. There's no question as to how things would be handled.
And I think it's helpful, like I said, I'm happy to say it reflects our practice, but at the same time, it's a great tool to communicate to parents what our procedures are, what our practice is. So happy to add another page to the handbooks, since it's 2 pages plus.
Yeah.
But it definitely benefits our audience in knowing the information and getting it out there.
Absolutely.
The second section is something that we've been doing new for this year. Part of our discipline, I've been recommending and asking the assistant principals to look at a diversion program. And it's not a full curriculum that you will adopt. I'll describe what it is, consists of specifically, but diversion program basically is an alternative to suspensions. We just don't want to be suspending students and sending them out for 4 or 5 days plus. We'd like to give them options. So if a student is actually caught vaping and they have a 3-day suspension, we like to also offer them to be part of the diversion program. So what we'll do is 1 day suspension and 2 days on the shelf if you complete the diversion program. If you fail to complete the diversion program, and then the 2 days come off the shelf and that comes back. And we'll say that when you have mom or dad or someone sitting next to you and you're given these options of 3 days out or a diversion program, they all go with the diversion program. The diversion program consists of 3 or 4 weeks of articles and videos that the kids need to read and watch each week. Each week they report to a member of the faculty. One could be the school nurse. On a Friday, report to her. On week 2, Friday you would report to the school resource officer. On the 3rd Friday, you would report to the wellness teacher. And on the 4th, you'd report to the assistant principal. All the responsibility falls on the student to complete the diversion program. And I will say that we've offered this up several times, and we've only had 1 student that didn't complete the program.
Out of how many?
I'm gonna say give or take 6, 7, 8 around there, give or take. So those are pretty good odds. And
Now, is
Yeah.
that all of these together, or is that just the vaping, the 6, 7, or 8?
the mainly out behavior, which is not included but models the exact same thing, and the vaping
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
So what comes back is educating, and we're educating the child rather than just disciplining the child, and that's the goal in any one of these diversion programs that you see on here. And they do come back, most of them come back with a greater awareness of what they're actually doing, rather than just a lecture from the assistant principal, and we'll see you in 4 days. So it also mirrors what the district attorney's office is doing, what the Georgetown police are doing. So we're all kind of offering these options up for students to educate them rather than just penalize them.
It's the restorative justice model.
Yeah.
Are they also responsible for in-school work, like
Yes.
that they
Yes.
miss? So they're responsible to make up all that work?
Yes.
Okay.
But if they were in this diversionary program, they would miss a lot less. I like that
Yeah.
it says it's
They'd only
offered
miss
to
one
certain
day.
eligible high school offenders, so you have the option always to, you know, to decide not for a particular offense.
A second or third offense, it would not be an option at
And
that
I'm
point.
assuming, Dan, you track to see if, because that's how you'll know if it works, right?
Yes.
If you don't have the problem again.
And
Right.
is the work of the diversionary program, does that happen in school, or is that an after-school activity?
Good question. That is on the student's own time.
Okay.
They need to manage it themselves. We just check at the end of the week to make sure that they've done everything that's been asked of them. And it's also what we're trying to teach kids is responsibility. And like I said, it's a great tool. And a majority of the kids have completed all but one, and
Sort of their own.
And do they have
They can
to
screw it up on their own.
write something up to let you know that they actually saw the videos and responded to articles, or?
a combination of a conversation and writing something up. And we've done reflections for some students, journaling for others, what they've learned, what was an aha moment that you didn't realize. So it's not just submit a paper, it's always a conversation, but sometimes it's accompanied with a paragraph or two or a journaling.
Now, the suspension part of the consequence, would it be possibly in-school suspension for a first-time offender?
We do it
Or-
case
or,
by
I mean,
case.
or maybe no,
Depends on the
maybe
offense, probably.
not at all for a first-time offender if there's depending on the circumstance?
Definitely, it's a case by case.
It's a case by case,
Yes.
that's what I thought, yeah, okay, good.
We don't want to one size fits everyone, and then it just becomes too automatic.
I mean,
and-
you want it more educational, and you also want to be building connections and relationships. I mean, these students may feel very, you know, kind of disconnected and not really part of the community. You want to bring them into the community and not, you know, but at the same time, you need to make a statement. You can say, this is not acceptable, school property, and this cannot go forward, and, yeah, but I mean, a lot of them, you know, as I've said with vaping, I think a lot of young people, they don't know, or maybe they don't believe yet in the harm of what vaping is and use of jewels, so it's like intensive education is often the most important element in my view. But then again, I mean, then there's second, third, fourth, there's other offenses, there's sales, I know you must come across all kinds of different situations, so.
So,
No, go ahead.
I was just wondering, because I know we reviewed our alcohol, tobacco policy in the last year. I'd be curious to see how these work together. In that, it seems like and I like the program, but I would just want to make sure that the school committee policy can work with this policy, and then they're not contradicting. Would be
We can look at that in governance.
my question.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Maybe we can invite Dan to come.
So prior to the district having an SRO, all things were basically handled, you know, within the administration, and I'm sure the police were notified for different things. But so, is the SRO involved with all three of these? Well, I see that, you know, marijuana obviously is against the law, so I'm sure that, but so if somebody, like
alcohol.
even, yeah, but like behavioral issues, and these three, are they always involved when the student is found to be in violation of these?
So it's not automatic that those are the group of adults. If there's, let's say, a behavioral issue, and one of the adults doesn't have a relationship with the student, and maybe a guidance counselor does, we would replace it with a guidance counselor. So nothing's automatic on there. It really is customized to the student and
Yeah.
what we can do for them. And sometimes, I think in one case, we had a teacher that
Yeah, I
wanted
was
to be
gonna say,
part of it.
a teacher that's
So it's
supposed to
not
be
just
closer to
building
the child, yeah.
relationships.
Good,
Yeah.
well, that's nice,
Good
that
to hear, yeah.
you wanna make it as
Yeah.
comfortable for the child too, and if they're
Mhm.
demonstrating this type of behavior, you wanna let them know that we support them and we wanna do all that we can to, you know, have that stop, so having someone that they're close to is great,
Yeah.
I like that.
And also clarifying for them what will happen if this happens again.
Mm.
Because I think a lot of students, they just don't think a lot about the consequences of their actions, but, you know, this would definitely help them do that more.
It mirrors our social emotional learning, you know, initiative, working with kids, building relationships rather than just the simple, you know, flip to page 24, it's 3 days out, and we'll see you on Thursday with your mom or dad.
Right.
So it's building relationships as well.
Good. 'Cause I do remember Mr. Brow coming in and speaking with us about the diversionary program,
Yes.
and he had a slide, he had wonderful slides. One of them was a picture of a child at home in an out-of-school suspension, obviously, and, you know, he was just sitting up there with his feet on the table and a bottle of beer, and the TV's on, the video games are, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily, you know, we're just trying to be helpful, and while it may seem like a logical consequence to give an out-of-school suspension, that's not always
Oh,
help,
yeah,
you
they
know,
need to stay
a
in
good
school.
thing, yeah. And well,
Most of the
depending
time.
on, yeah, I mean, depending on the situation, but, you know, it can really work against the whole educational process. Depending.
Okay.
So those are the two changes to the 2019-2020 Georgetown Middle School Handbook.
And then we're gonna talk about the trip after, okay.
Yep.
But can I just say, I do love seeing all this in writing, it's really very helpful, and I think the parents are gonna find it helpful too, so thank you
Good.
for putting
Yeah,
this
if
together.
the font was just a little bigger.
Yeah,
Right?
I'll work on that.
Yeah, very,
I was reading it through my phone. That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's awful.
good job putting this together.
So I'll make a motion to approve the 2019-2020 Parent-Student Handbook for the Georgetown Middle High School as presented by Principal Richards.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion on that? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now,
Next, so.
I'm not going anywhere.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay. All right, right, this is exciting.
You wanna come up, Martha? Come on.
I didn't realize that we had a international trip
I
planned.
don't know, so we'll definitely, get the paperwork done on the field trip form, but Martha's here to talk about it, so.
Hi, Mrs. George, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Can I get that to you tomorrow?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Let's try this all over again.
There's still time.
Okay, thanks.
So one of the reasons why we're talking about a trip for next year, this year, is we don't want competing trips, and put students in
idea.
a situation of which trip do I choose, and, you know, give them a heads up on fundraising, plenty enough time for fundraising. So I like the idea of presenting trips for the upcoming year, the year before. May is usually a good time, and that way we all know what's coming up, and kids, and we won't get into that competing. So, I put it out to the faculty and staff to offer up trips. There was definitely a lot of interest, but it finally landed with a trip with the French teacher and with Martha teaching art, and they have been working with Rural Cultural Tours to make sure that it's a trip that they both benefit from. And I'm not even going to attempt to speak to the content piece and leave that to Martha about the benefits of some of these locations. But we're looking at a trip around the February vacation of 2020, and that is to France and to several locations. And I'll open it at that point.
Well, Mary Hayes has done 3 of these trips before to France. 2 times she's gone to Quebec. The students have loved the trips. They're extremely beneficial, real-life learning, the cultural learning experiences. Now, as far as France, I have been waiting to go on this trip for many years, so I'm thrilled that I myself went in high school, and as an art student, it completely changed my outlook as far as art history. And that's what I'm hoping to give to some of my art students. So we want to open this up to French students. It doesn't matter their level, doesn't have to be advanced level. 1 year French is fine. For art students, we're going to offer it to our advanced art students because they're more serious about that. Now, of course, if it is an art student that's not what we consider an advanced art student, but they're taking French, they're still eligible to go. Mary Hayes is guesstimated, there's about 50 students that could be the pool for this. We have a cost on 25 students and 30 students. So if we have 25 students, it's $3,500. If 30 students go, it's $3,400.
It's on the back.
Okay.
It is one, the chaperone, it's 1 per 10 students. So 1 chaperone. We will, we're open to fundraising if students need that. Some students that Mary has talked to who are interested in this trip, they are willing to be in charge of the fundraising. So it wouldn't be the teachers in charge of the fundraising, it would be the students, be student driven. That's what we're hoping, but we're open to ideas for this.
So the students wouldn't be collecting the money though,
They
right?
wouldn't, right, they would
yeah.
not be collecting the money. That is where the
They just
teachers.
come up with the ideas and actually fundraise.
Exactly, yes, as far as the financial aspect, yes, teachers would be in
Perfect.
charge of that.
Perfect.
Yes. Any questions?
So tonight, we're not approving,
Yeah, I think,
are you looking for an approval of the trip to tonight?
I think that's a good question. I think it's more presenting the trips, if there were plural, a year in advance so that everyone is aware of what trips we have planned. It's more of a, being ready for next year. So I don't know if it's necessarily a vote or
Yeah.
not.
I don't think we put it on for a vote.
We didn't.
I think we put the, just kind of, I don't even think we put this
The
on for a
overnight,
vote.
we
It was
did.
Okay, we
The
did.
field trip guidelines, we did. If we could, so that's fine, we can review that. If we could have, another meeting to put that on the agenda for the actual trip approval.
Yes,
because
because
I-
we wanna fill out you wanna fill out the form, right, the field trip form, there's one that's in the policy manual, Dan can get it for you.
Okay.
And then it
Yeah,
would
the
come before
updated
the
form.
committee, but the committee, would you be able to vote on, it sounds like they would like the approval
Yeah,
before the
I
school year
think we
ends.
should be able to vote at the next school committee
There are
meeting.
2 school committee meetings,
Okay.
in June,
Good.
so if.
Because I just wasn't,
know,
I wasn't prepared to actually, I looked at this, but I didn't see that we were gonna, approve it, but I do love the idea of you giving it to us this far in advance.
Yeah.
I love that, and to make it, known to the students, because this year was difficult, some
Yeah.
trips weren't able to be, to come to fruition because of, like, the Disney trip, and there were a few things going on. So this is a great way to, let people know if they wanna go,
So is this the only trip that will be planned at the high school for next year, or are you still waiting to hear from other people who might have an interest?
This is the only trip planned for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there any discussion for a trip for the Spanish department or to?
There was a lot of buzz across the school, social studies, Spanish, and it just landed that this is the only one that was proposed, gave them probably a 2-month notice on it to plan, a person to work through.
Okay.
And this is the only proposal.
Okay.
But I will say, don't underestimate just one. Again, a lot of buzz. I think there is a lot of interest moving forward. And the students I've talked to are very happy that the overseas trips are back on. And teachers are as well, because this may be the only opportunity students may have to travel abroad. So everyone is pleased. I just don't think they were quite ready to commit
the time.
vacation.
Yeah, that's
And
all.
this is
so
nice
now-
because it's not just a language. I like how you're combining
Yeah,
it
I
with
like that.
art,
I
so
do
that
love
you're
that.
opening it up to
Absolutely.
more students
Yes.
that wouldn't normally have an opportunity to do any of
Right.
that international traveling.
Right.
So I
That
think
is
it's
also,
great.
it is so significant to art and
Yeah.
art history, I
Mm.
mean, it's
No,
obvious,
to go and
it's
see the
obvious.
real Mona Lisa,
Oh, yeah,
completely different from a book.
absolutely.
But much less
Absolutely.
impressive than you think.
No, it's so
Yeah, well, but the eyes do follow you.
That's a great learning experience. When you see it in a book, you have no idea
Yeah.
what the.
No, but it's
Yeah.
pretty
No, no, it
impressive
is.
that,
Well,
you know,
so
it
I
was
was pretty
actually
impressed with
dated.
really-
Davis
it
when we
really
actually
was.
saw the Davis
Yeah,
sketches.
it was.
It really
It
was.
It was.
So this is during vacation and.
So that was my
Couple of
question.
days difference, right?
So it's Wednesday before to Thursday of.
They're still working on the flights for Wednesday. Kids may be in school on Wednesday, so they would just be the Thursday, Friday. They're still working on the flights.
Okay,
And
I
they
guess
don't-
my question was, and I assume kind of the Wednesday night, the overnight flight into Europe, why not push it back 2 days and just make it over vacation instead of missing those 2 days?
Probably less
Expense,
expensive, right?
Cost
That's
It's less
that.
expensive,
That's
'cause
it.
once
It's the
you
Almost
cost.
doubles, yeah.
And it does sound like this is an education, they're gonna be.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not.
That's why Disney did what they did.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cost
Because
is so
of
much
the
cost.
cost of
vacation
flights.
time, it's.
And I love
it's just-
Disney, but this is,
The price
you know,
is
the
just different.
educational, you know, Disney's educational.
No, Disney
certainly,
is
but-
very educational.
Yeah, no, I can understand though, because this, it's not cheap as it is, so
No.
to give them any type of a break, I can see that. So 50 students, when you say that, you're saying those are the ones that are in the advanced art?
For the total
And for
eligible.
between both French and advanced art.
Okay,
the
wow, so that's
eligibility
not that
for-
many students then that are in, across the board for French?
That was the figures that Mary
Wow.
gave me, so I can't really speak to it.
I think French is not our most enrolled language.
Yeah,
Spanish is, and I think when momentum starts to happen, you may see more kids or fewer kids. But once it becomes reality, and when you talk a year out,
Yeah.
kids look to next week or a month out.
Well,
Look-
remember, those of us that have been around a while, at one point, it looked like the French program was
Yeah.
probably not gonna be able to continue. And then we hired Mary, actually, the French teacher with the Irish brogue, right? And she really got kids excited, and so, you know, the numbers went up,
Mhm.
and then we added a trip. She took, and that trip just made everybody, you know, start to get excited about the language. So I think we that was definitely a draw to getting kids back into the
well,
French.
so that's another question I did have, because it is a draw. So, you know, just like the Disney trip, you see more kids that year at Disney
Right.
sign up for a chorus and band. So are you is there gonna be something like out to these students saying, oh, you know, next year we are planning a trip, so think about that. Well, they've already
Pick their
filled out
courses,
their
right?
forms
As
for
soon
next year.
as soon as we get the approval, we want to have a parent meeting. That we are ready to start as soon as we get the approval
Okay.
with finalizing this, getting the
I
information.
like that you can
getting-
fundraise. I like the fact that you have time.
Exactly.
I don't like that F word.
I know, but if it can defray
We're
the
trying to
cost
get rid of
for,
that.
Sometimes it's
if it
necessary.
can defray the cost for the
Yes,
kids that are
sometimes
doing
it's-
it, it's like, I think that's helpful.
Right, and
It's a lot of
sometimes the earlier you book your trips, the cheaper they are.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So that's an estimated cost, right?
I believe so.
It shouldn't vary much off of that, as they work out the flights.
Right, so that's why when you fill out the form, you'll have much more, you know,
Yeah.
exact
Yes.
information, so you
Yes.
get a sense of the cost.
Is it still possible, so this is February vacation, is it still possible for April vacation
No.
that, no?
He just said,
Oh,
no one's
sorry.
going anywhere next
Right,
year
okay.
except
Yeah, this is the
this.
trip,
Okay,
because then it takes away from, you know, they take away from each other.
in terms of families not being
Yeah.
able to afford.
Maybe the
Okay.
following year will be
Yeah.
the right timing for the
Other-
teachers, cause I do think there's interest in the Spanish department, you know.
There is.
You
I
know,
would
yeah.
do that too.
Yeah.
Art do
But I
Spanish.
think, you know,
Because there's a lot of art there.
There is.
But, you know,
Art
it is above and
is
beyond
the-
for the
a part of the
teachers,
human
so they
condition.
have to be able to work it into their family life too, so
Okay.
I think there's some of that that's going on too.
And Principal Richards, are you planning on going? I know you've been, with your previous
love to
district,
go.
you went on.
We're gonna
trips.
see where this lands. 2 chaperones are already allocated,
Yeah.
and we'll go from there. But we'll see. I'm always open to traveling, but we'll see. This will be your first big trip,
Yes.
Yeah.
and Mary
Yes.
has done it before.
Mhm.
We always want a backup just in case
Okay.
of an emergency, if someone needs to go to another location to
Yeah,
take care of
don't say
children.
it, yeah, right.
And then keep the trip moving. We wanna make sure that that's all covered.
Yeah.
Right.
It's open
So
for
would you
school
mind coming back to the next school committee meeting with
Not at
that
all.
paperwork? You
Not
sure?
at all.
Yeah,
I'll come back.
because we might have some more questions as the paperwork is more detailed, but,
Sure. Yeah.
so we'll,
And we'll have more, I'll have more definitive numbers too.
sure, okay. Good, so then we'll take a look at the handbook then for the overnight trips.
So basically, this is,
Thank you.
the excerpts are taken out of the handbook for the most part, right?
Yep,
The stuff that's appropriate for that, and, Dan had thought that this would just be helpful to, be able to put all of, instead of going through the handbook, just put it in one place, so everybody knew what was expected, I guess.
so in terms of the policy too, that we spend all that time updating, is that, so it all falls in line
Yes.
with that, the new policy too?
This is sort of like, that's the policy, and then this is sort of the logistics, I guess.
These are
how I would
more
describe
like
it.
the guidelines?
There's
Would
nothing
that-
against the policy.
So
Yeah.
what we don't have in the middle and high school handbook, we don't have any language on transportation, your behavior in hotels, and, nor would we. This is just an extension of that to cover any overnight trip, and doesn't have to be international. But it would cover those expectations, and keep in mind that when we do have overnight trips with different chaperones, there are different expectations. This would align those expectations.
I had a question on one of these, it said, and I'm just wondering why it's in here. So if, no calling room to room, you have to use your cell phone, why is that?
There usually is a charge
Oh.
when you're over in Europe, and we don't want the kids to start racking up any charges because it's already prepaid. And usually when we start to check out, it becomes a problem and delays the trip, and we gotta find which of the 3 students in the room use the phone. And that whole process just delays everything. We want to avoid that. So we tell them not to use the phones.
So, because this just said school-sponsored trips, is it fine on a non-international trip to do that, or we just don't want them using the phone at all, the hotel phone?
I think
from
you can
room
make
to
an
room?
exception to that if it's a domestic overnight trip. And the chaperone can make that call, that's fine. What I don't wanna do is just make sure that we do it, everything bullet by bullet, and because it doesn't apply to if we're going to Washington DC, calling rooms or whatever. But we'll let the chaperone
Yeah,
have that
see, that's why I was
flexibility.
thinking of it, cause I wasn't thinking international, I was just thinking trips in general.
That's a really good question, Barbie, and the answer, has to do with the cost, right? Cause it
So
could
it's-
very well happen that the kids could rack
Yeah.
up a bill.
It'd be awful, oh goodness.
Especially nowadays, they have their phones, they can text,
So then should it be specific and say, under no, I just lost it, there will be absolutely no calling between rooms in international,
On international.
trips or travel. Number 8.
That could be a modification to it. Sure.
Well, it looks like it's pretty, detailed, and there shouldn't be any questions for anybody going into it. Did you want to ask something?
The question that I had, similar to the handbook policy change in terms of the diversionary programs, this feels like it's close, but it doesn't quite align with what the diversionary program language says. And I sort of alluded before, there was,
This doesn't?
a little bit of, so this says, the school committee policy is the rule.
Where were you looking?
And the statement of discipline
Oh,
Like
alcohol,
down here.
drug
Oh, okay,
policy?
yeah, on the second page,
is.
third page, actually.
Is this
Well,
suggesting that a student using drugs or alcohol on a field trip are subject to different disciplinary rules than they would be if it was during a regular school day. Because that's the way I sort of interpret, reading this, and then 2 minutes later reading this, I wondered if they didn't align. And I guess my question was if that was strategic or less strategic.
So I hear what you're saying. One is working with kids on a daily basis, and the trips are a privilege. It's a privilege for students to be on a trip, and an expectation of responsibility is higher because we are traveling abroad. So it's a little more direct than what you see, the flexibility with the diversion program. So I understand why your comparison.
So is it, based on that, is it fair to say if a student is using drugs, alcohol, etc. on a trip that they would be getting a 3-day suspension when they get home?
Again, it go by the handbook, because wherever you travel, the handbook goes with you. Don't have to be in school for the school handbook.
That happened in Disney. There was an issue.
I guess
they
So I
took
think the trip
consequences.
consequences, and then there may be an extension when you return back to school. Giving a suspension while in France
There's
I'm not sure
practicality.
what that would look like.
Right.
Maybe stay in the hotel and miss the trip to the chateau would be part of the discipline.
But you also
Who
have
would
chaperone
stay-
issues, and
Yeah.
it's a lot
who
more
would
complicated.
Right. I mean,
No
then
worries.
you're into
There's
a whole lot of
usually
other
chaperones.
issues.
It would
We'd have to trust the chaperones to make that judgment.
Well, we kind of came into contact with this conflict in our last governance meeting between policy and guidelines, right? So it sounds like that might be like where the handbook is more the guidelines that follow the policy.
This handbook, right.
Right.
Yeah.
So like having the diversionary programs are, you know, like, I feel like the policy is more open-ended and these are the specifics. Does that make sense? Or no?
Yeah, I think what Michael's speaking about is, this looks like it just lifts the policy. It references the current policy.
Well, and it does, but
Yeah.
then it goes so far as to say, you know, on the first offense, notification of parents, notification of police, suspension from school, suspension from extracurriculars, suspension from school-sponsored dances, 10 hours of public restitution work, an NHS ? And then a second offense, which to me would suggest the second offense on a trip, suspension from extracurriculars for 45 days, possible expulsion, and then distributing. So I guess is this specific to trips, or is it? And I get what you're saying. Policy is kind of the generalities or the general version, but it doesn't. It feels they don't. It doesn't feel like they align. I guess is what I'm struggling with.
Well, so like the specifics in the specifics in this handbook don't completely align with
The other.
what you presented first.
The diversionary aspect
Right.
of it.
Okay. Yeah.
But I guess that would change when he adds that, right? So are you asking, is this paper, would we be needing to change this to align with that?
That.
So it's kind of which comes first, right?
Well, which comes first, or which is the rule?
Right.
Is it to your point?
Yeah.
An internet or a big trip is a privilege, and therefore the expectations of responsibility are higher. So the penalties are stiffer, for lack of a better word. Or is that not the case?
Well, our policy doesn't have, let me ask this, I don't think our drug and alcohol policy lists just the discipline that goes with it, does it? I think the handbook,
Right,
so,
that's what I
so
was-
I'd have to read the policy, but I didn't think the policy
Went into detail like
spoke,
this does.
to-
yeah,
the
spoke about
disciplinary
exactly what
actions.
discipline the
Right.
kids were gonna get.
Yeah, I don't
Uh,
remember.
So I think we gotta look at that, but my guess is it doesn't. It probably says something that's subject to discipline up to and including, whatever. We'll have to check that. We can do this in governance, we can just put it on our agenda, we can take a look at it. But, what this is basically probably paralleling is more the handbook that you have.
Right.
So if we're making a change to the
existing
handbook,
rules.
the
Okay.
existing handbook,
Okay.
then we would just make the modification here, unless unless you're not gonna even entertain diversion if it's an international trip. So this is like a guideline for school-sponsored out of
And
state.
it's not even international, just could be.
Well, it doesn't say, that's why it
Right.
doesn't
Just-
specifically
right.
say international.
But like you said, it's out of state versus like discipline that you might have in the school itself.
Yeah,
I mean,
This is-
This isn't out of state, this is.
just
School-sponsored.
school-sponsored trips.
I read this as any
field
school-sponsored
trip.
field trip.
Yep.
I wonder if we should have like
No, I don't know, Dan, what you're thinking. I mean,
separate
I just think
international
we
one.
have to just line them up. I think that's what you're asking for. So
Yeah.
let's take a look at what's in the handbook. If we're gonna make a modification to the handbook, we'll just make it the same.
And we can also just reference that, the, Georgetown Middle High School handbook,
Right.
penalties,
Chapters,
and
whatever.
just reference it.
Reference it.
And as we make those changes over the years, we don't have to worry about two documents that are changing.
Right, exactly.
And that's something we
That
can
might
streamline.
make sense.
Yeah.
And then what
And
about
if
where
you
it
don't,
says
if
will
you're not-
may be
Right.
taken?
Right, I'm
You're
not
just
gonna
about to
allow
say
the
that. There is a
diversionary,
small-
you can also
Small
put that in.
typo.
So it says, before it lists all that, it just says the following action will, may be taken.
You want
So
an
is it-
or in there?
Yeah, will
or may
Well,
be
just
taken.
takes- I would just say, why don't you say may be taken?
Or may be
Yeah.
taken.
Cause that,
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, that,
Right.
Generalize it.
Yep.
Okay, so do we wanna hold off on approval of this?
I mean, it doesn't matter, we can come back next meeting and do the same thing we're doing with Martha. But
Well,
we do have to take a look at, adding, Dan just has to add the diversion language so we can see what that looks like, right, in your handbook.
Diversion language or a blanket statement says that,
See
Refer
chapter
to,
reflect the Georgetown Middle High School handbook.
okay, then we can
should
do
do that
We can-
modification.
We can do that. We'll vote on it tonight with just that.
Yep.
So, okay, do you have
So
any questions?
I'm belaboring a point, and forgive me for that. But I guess what I heard you say was, and I'm using the same words again, and I apologize, but a tripper is a privilege and the rules are more involved. But if we're just referencing the policy that's less involved, then they're not anymore. There's no acknowledgement of the privilege and the added responsibility. So it seems to contradict the trips are a privilege if all the rules, we want everyone to behave the way they should.
So Dan,
Granted.
these are not the ones that are in your current handbook?
These are the ones that are in the
Okay.
handbook.
So how-
the
so how-
diversion-
So how are they more serious or not more serious? I think what I'm hearing you say is, even though I do agree with you, the privilege is the privilege. When kids have a misbehavior or whatever and they have to take the handbook, it doesn't sound like you're creating more stiff penalties. It sounds like you're taking the consequences that are available in the handbook, because you have different layers of sophistication of punishment, right?
Yes.
Right, so that's how what I'm thinking is, if this is the current handbook and he's proposing it to be, used, then they might decide to use the ones that are a little, there's wiggle room here, right? That's how I see it.
Right, there's a
That
lot of-
if you say may,
But
Right.
but if I understood correctly, we're gonna take this out and say, see
That's
the
one
alcohol
option.
policy in the handbook, which is gonna be this.
Diversionary, right?
So we're by saying review the handbook for the rules or for the penalty, the consequences, we're taking away the added responsibility aspect of it. Because we're saying we're following the same rules whether you're in the school or out of the school. So then there's no
Raising the bar.
raising the bar.
I'm not sure you have to raise the bar. It's your decision as a school. These are all of the consequences that you may select. But when we were in that situation in Disney, we had all kinds of options. We figured what the best option was for that situation at the time. So we dealt with it on the trip, but when it came back, it went to the assistant principals. It was between the assistant principals and the students as to what and if the school was going to assign discipline.
Further discipline.
They could have suspended them for 3 days. They could have done 3 detentions. It's any and all of what's available for consequences. So I think it
Sounds like
depends
it's
on
a
the
menu.
it depends on the
Yeah.
circumstances, and
believe
so I don't know about raising the bar if it's an international trip. We expect a certain behavior. It's the same behavior we expect, when you're in the school, but because you're off school grounds, right? I mean, it's more serious, it's more dangerous for you if you misbehave, but the consequences might not be worse.
Which I would hope that the teachers would speak to the students ahead
Right,
of
I
time
mean-
and.
Right. No, okay.
So I,
just,
so I,
Clear
yeah, I know,
expectations.
it's been a little confusing, I think the ball's been bouncing. But I think what Dan will have to tell us, it sounds like he wants to take what's in the handbook now and put it in these guidelines. These are the policies and guidelines that we want to have in place. So everybody knows, if you do this, these are things that can happen to you.
In addition to behavior in hotel,
Right,
which is on the
right.
handbook, land transportation expectations,
Yes.
which is not in the handbook.
Right. Now, I don't know, I mean, you can put it in here for alcohol, cause you might say, all right, depending on the situation, we're gonna put you in a diversion program, but it doesn't mean that's an option for you. It might be in the policy as, we have these programs in
It's
place, but it doesn't mean you're
Pending,
gonna be eligible for it, right?
Correct.
So I
Because
think,
that's
I
up
think
to
that's
the
all we're
administrator.
trying to do.
Yeah.
But you know what, let Dan play with it,
Mhm.
right? And then, you know, when if conceptually you agree that the guidelines that are here make sense in terms of what's here,
Mhm.
right? And then, you know, we know that it's linked directly to the handbook, he's gonna make the changes to the handbook that he talked about tonight. And so when this is published in its final form, it'll have the specific reference to the handbook, it'll be the same language in the handbook, it'll be the same language in the policy. Does that make sense? Cause I do see the confusion, and we're doing this to clarify, right? So the last thing we wanna do is be confusing.
So like what I'm hearing is the guidelines in the handbook allow for one size not to fit all.
Correct.
Like every situation is different.
Right, it sounds like a menu. You can do this, this.
And that's how we do it now, right? When they sit with the students and they listen to the situation, they look at the circumstances, they see if there was something precipitated it, and then they work with the student and the family and the teachers and whomever needs to be involved, and they come up with what they think is the most logical consequence and try to, you know, make it something that doesn't happen again. Right? But what you don't want is a handbook that says, if you do this, you will get this, because, you know, there are gray shades of gray in the world.
Right. Okay, so are we prepared to vote on this tonight?
Oh, I thought he was gonna take it back and then
Well, he's gonna adjust the
just
policies,
the okay.
but the question is,
Guidelines.
it's up to you, I don't think we care, it's not, tonight isn't
We don't
essential.
have a trip going to next.
Yeah, well, yeah,
Not until 2020.
Okay.
but
So-
I appreciate Dan, you know, kind of taking the initiative and bringing this
Okay.
forward, because I do think, you know, it does, you know, try to provide a little more clarity and a little more consistency. And it does he did take into consideration, obviously, our field trip policy.
Mhm.
This is the next layer down, I guess you'd say.
I think it's very helpful to students and their families and,
Yeah.
yes, that this
So
document.
we can
Okay,
certainly.
so
we can bring
play
it
with
back.
it.
So we should probably hold off, let me play with it, either a paragraph or a copy
Yeah.
and paste out of the current handbook so it reflects it directly, or a reference to
If you're making
pages.
changes to the handbook, Dan, you wanna make those changes
Yeah.
and then insert them in there. So it's all
Okay,
lined
so
up.
we'll do that.
Okay.
So the next meeting, we can, if you're prepared at that time.
We
Okay.
should put that, I'll put that on the agenda, I'll be prepared to bring back the version.
Okay, Nancy, you can do that. We'll
Thank
talk
you,
about
Dan.
So
that.
has someone
Okay.
actually thrown something outside a window of
Oh,
a hotel?
Yes.
It actually, it's
I'm a little bit appalled.
Yeah.
Well, what about the
blame you for
mall,
that.
the kid that threw the furniture over at
Oh,
the,
yeah.
you know, over the mall,
The from the second floor to the first floor.
Yeah.
having run
Guess I'm
many
in a
a
bubble.
program, room service dishes work really well as first base.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, we've been very
No
fortunate
ideas.
because we have
Stop.
yeah, no,
had that
I'm sorry to
happen,
give
but-
options, but
yeah.
Yeah, don't encourage.
Are you planning on attending the prom?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
We'll all be there
Yep.
with bells on.
That's good.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm not wearing tuxes.
Perfect, thank you.
So I'll have
Thank
this
you,
later.
Dan.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Chloe, thank you for
Yeah,
coming.
Chloe came in.
I had an acting showcase.
Yeah,
today.
wow,
that's what it was.
Yeah,
I had
I
said that
said
at
it
the
wasn't
beginning
on
of
my
the meeting.
calendar, so I'm like, how did I miss that?
I know. It was right at. It was good. Yeah, it was really funny. It was called It's Not You, It's Me. So it was like 10 scenes of people breaking up with each other.
Oh.
So for the last one, the
different
person actually
scenarios.
finds someone, so it's cute.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it was really fun.
That's good. Were there a lot of people there? A lot of students?
There was like 30 people there, I guess.
Well,
It was
that's
pretty good.
What was it?
That's good for-
Not the reasons not to be in a play.
That was the middle school
That
one.
was so.
Reasons not to be in a play?
How many? I forgot the name of it. It was like 10
Yeah,
reasons or
yeah, I
15
think-
reasons not to be in a play.
Yeah.
And it was like everybody
It
was.
was
It was,
play.
it was really interesting. It was really pretty funny. So this is what was this, Chloe? What were you acting?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's so it's advanced acting and intermediate acting. We have a class during B block, and so then we had our showcase today.
And who teaches that?
Mrs. Lee.
Mrs. Lee. Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
I played a psychic. Yeah, it was interesting. It was a weird play, but it was funny. It was
That's
good.
good. So we talked a little bit about what's going on, but, we talked about the upcoming prom and the whitewater rafting trip and things like that. What do you want to add to how things are going at the school?
The senior showcase is actually tomorrow. It's at 7.
Yep.
I think we have like 8 or 9 acts going.
That's good.
So we'll
Are
see
you
how
gonna be
that
one of them?
goes. Yes. I think there's gonna be 16 of us girls doing something, so we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that
So out of
goes.
the 8 or 9 acts in one, there's gonna be 16?
Yep.
More the merrier.
Yeah.
Right?
But it should be good. But the boys lacrosse, they have a game tomorrow. I believe it's home. It's at 3:45.
Senior night.
Yep.
Oh,
senior
senior,
night tomorrow. Finals are senior finals are next week, but we have open campus, which is really nice. So
You excited for that?
yeah.
Good.
But today I guess was our final full day of school.
Oh boy.
Yeah, because tomorrow we have a half day, and then next week's finals week.
Oh, that's exciting.
So
Gee.
sad.
It's getting real, Chloe.
I know. it's
And the
weird.
Spofford tournament too is this weekend, baseball.
Yes.
Too, I
It
forgot
is,
about
yeah.
that.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure of the times, but it's at.
Yeah,
it's
I'm not
the
sure
game's
which
time.
one.
Well,
Georgia.
I know
You-
the
you-
varsity game's on Saturdays, 10 and 1.
Oh, okay, and
So
JV
maybe
is at
that's the
1,
same-
I
okay.
know that.
Mm-hmm.
Good, so hopefully, it's always a fun tournament, and the weather seems to be
It's gonna be good.
cooperating,
Yeah.
cooperating, so hopefully people will come out and cheer them on, because that's the last of the season.
Yeah.
You know, it's all over for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
as far as I know, unless they have makeup games to go, so.
Wow.
So if you don't have anything to do this
Great.
weekend, you wanna come down and cheer on the baseball team,
Did
They
you
love it.
did you hear about the therapy dogs coming?
No.
No.
There's when?
This week.
There's therapy dogs coming?
Not if you
They
have a
announced
kid.
it tomorrow. But yes, we have them coming for seniors and for the underclassmen
When?
during exams.
Next week during
Like
exams.
every day?
Times out and location.
At least 3 of the days.
Because like everyone's like, where are the therapy dogs?
Oh, there you go. You can tell them.
I'm so
Stay
excited.
tuned.
So we have it in Andover, and they have therapy dogs come in once a week.
Oh, and Pembroke does as well.
Yeah, for just a specific cohort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's called the SAIL. I'm not sure which program, SAIL or the other program, but
Yeah.
the kids really look forward to it.
And I think they're talking about doing some yoga and things if people want them. So
We could bring the
remember,
dogs in.
remember we had talked to Mr. Richard
Yeah,
about that in the interview.
I know. It was introduced
Remember we
as
talked
therapy
about this
dog,
in
and I
the
was just
interview.
like, that's a bonus.
Chloe said, I like that.
Yeah. One of the many reasons.
Yeah.
And so I know at the safety meeting, we talked about that with Mr. Prescott, so how did we go about doing like the whole allergy thing, like with kids having allergies to dogs or?
A lot of them are
We're gonna
non-allergenic.
have them in the auditorium, and if students have allergies, they're isolated in the auditorium, they wouldn't be roaming the school or anything. And
Yeah. Okay, and no need to worry about the fabric on the chairs, right?
Well,
'Cause we-
no, so I
Dogs will not be
suggested
sitting
maybe
on
the
the chairs.
chairs,
Yeah.
but then Jen reminded me that if they're doing some kind of a yoga or meditation or something in the gym, it would be, you couldn't really do both. Right, so that's why they went to the auditorium,
Yeah.
and kids could sit there and the dogs.
That's great.
So Guy showed me the schedule today, and there's a few days, apparently there's an organization, and there are like people that sign up, their dogs go through training and all that, they get certified. And then the company puts out an email to all the people across the state that have these therapy dogs, and then they contact the school if they're available. So Guy was saying that there are some local people who don't really wanna always be traveling down to the South Shore, which is where this organization is out of. So they were really excited that, like, one was from Amesbury, you know, there were some local people, North Andover, I think. But I think one day he had like 6 dogs or something, yeah. So, it's worth a try, you know, I think the students will love it, and hopefully they'll feel a little less anxious, I don't know.
Yeah. That's so exciting.
in colleges.
Yeah, it's a nice
Yeah, they
thing.
do it at colleges, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
Good. Now that you're here today, last week we talked about the great, chorus, concert.
Oh, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You guys, all of you did a great job, between the middle school, between the a cappella, between the,
That was great.
what are the other,
With the
the
chorale.
chorale. That was a really, enjoyable show. So
Yeah.
you guys
I
did
think
a
it
I
was
great job.
loved the
it was a
middle
great
school
concert.
and the high school singing
Together.
together at the end.
Mhm.
I thought that was really nice.
Yeah, it was really cool because we learned a lot of songs for Disney, so obviously we sang those, but then we had other ones we didn't sing for Disney, so it was just a lot of songs that we sang, but we were really prepared because we had to be prepared for Disney, so like,
Yes.
I think that helped a lot, but yeah, I really enjoyed the concert. I think between a cappella, chorale, and then all the songs in between, I sang like 10 songs.
Yeah,
or more. I was like, okay.
Well, that's a
were
nice
busy.
way
Yeah.
to, say goodbye to your high school.
And you got a standing
I like
ovation.
that.
I know.
That was cool.
That happened before, but that was pretty cool.
She started it.
I,
It was
I
really
love
good,
the
though.
stuff. I
It was
love
awesome.
the
I
kids'
know.
stuff.
I think after acapella, I just heard you go, all right. And I was like, yeah.
You might have, because I probably did say that. I get really excited.
Yeah, it was a
proud of
great
you guys.
concert.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
was
very
awesome.
enjoyable.
I didn't even have a microphone. Like that boy who said "wow" right in the whole. Everybody heard them. I guess I didn't realize I was loud.
Well, the acoustics in that room aren't all
I
that
know
great.
they're not. I know.
Right? Auditorium.
At least I was saying something positive, right?
No, it was good. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chloe.
You're good to go if you need to go, too.
Unless you want to stay and enjoy this there rest of your trip. You're welcome. Leave when you have to.
It's your last one. It is your last one.
I'll stay for a little bit longer. Since I was late.
Okay, so we're gonna talk now about the third quarter financial report.
Are you
Okay.
sure it's the financial report? You
I
can still go.
know. Nah, it's okay. It's okay.
So I put in your packet the third quarter financial report. It's actually through April 30th, so it's a little past the third quarter. So basically, the general fund budget has a little under 200 unencumbered balance, 200,000. But that's before we look at some end of year payroll, which is gonna be probably between 90 and 100,000, so, just to put that out there, so you don't think we have that much left. In athletics, we were still, expecting the last, payment. So I'm assuming, I haven't heard anything from athletics, so I'm assuming they received them on the 15th. Usually I hear, my projected end of the year balance in just athletics is about 20,000. It is
So-
down a little bit.
So is that with the people that do the installment, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So the third installment
Yeah,
was
did you do
due
the
on May
15th?
15. We did have 23 family caps, and I
I was
didn't.
one of them. I finally did it.
I know, and I was waiting.
Used to it, 'cause
He
it's
was
not happening
playing
again.
that sport, I don't care, he was playing, just to get that.
I didn't get the dollar figure from Cheryl on that, but I'm thinking it was pretty significant. You know, it's okay, Barbie. Let's see, what else? Preschool revolving, everybody is up to date except for one family that we've been working with, so we are expecting a positive balance. It's not a very large one, but it'll be a little bit to carry over.
Okay, that's great.
That's good news.
And we are working on next year, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, that FY, that
Just to,
total enrollment.
I know you changed the 49 students number in our meeting.
The
a couple months
46,
ago.
yeah, the 49, yes, because there was a total of 54 spots, Monday through Friday. But if you mix, if kids only come 2 days or 3 days, then, so we actually have 66 students right now for the preschool.
Oh, okay.
and there still is 4 open slots left in that Tuesday, Thursday full day class.
So is this any growth? Were there any new slots? I mean,
Well, we cut back one
Remember, we cut
classroom.
back a
one
classroom.
classroom, right?
So we have 2 full-day classrooms and 1 half-day classroom. Yep, for the year,
But,
so.
you know, we're working and trying to figure out, we certainly tried to cap the numbers, right? So at 20 and then less in our sort of real integrated program. But we may not be able to do that and meet our spending expectations. So we may have to increase by a couple of students in 2 of the classes for next year. But we have a
We're
preschool
working
meeting
on
coming
it,
up.
yeah.
We're meeting with Margaret and Caitlin and Jack and Amanda, Suzanne and I, and we're gonna really make sure we're all on the same page and we know exactly. Amanda was gonna be contacting some families on the wait list to see
Yeah.
if they were still interested in coming, and so the goal is to, but we do have to think a little more long-term. I think everybody's in agreement with that, but we just have to kind of figure out what will work.
So the school choice enrollment this year has not changed. We will have a balance this year as well. Basically the revenue coming in next year, covers the expenses. So, that balance should be there unless we lose some students. And we've only received 3 applications for the 7th grade spots that you guys
And how many
put
did
out.
we open up?
And
10.
It's early.
And that is closing,
Right.
well,
You think
closing
it's early?
May 31st, so,
It's closing
May
May
31st. We've had it open for a month and a half.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
been out
okay.
ever since you voted.
But if somebody comes in,
Wow.
do they need to, if somebody asks for it June
Yeah.
15th?
It'll be okay
Yeah,
unless we
as
go
long as
over
we
the
have,
10
as
spots.
long as we have spots.
Right, yeah,
But we're,
but you would never.
we would have done a lottery. If we had more than
Right.
10 kids, we would have done a lottery
That's
after
why you
May
have the deadline.
31st.
So the 11th, so assuming that we don't get 10 or more by May 30th, the 11th student over the summer, if there is one, would get a no, essentially.
Correct,
Because those spots are
Right.
full. 'Cause yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that I understood the process.
yes. And we have to code them differently, but I think we have 8 faculty children, 8 people, faculty.
Yeah, they're not school choice.
Yeah, so I think we had 3, and then I think there's another 5. 3 kindergartners for next
Yeah,
year.
because this was our
Okay,
first year
interesting.
where it was in the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there were 5
So the
this
teachers
year?
prior that were in school choice are still in school choice.
They're still in school
Yeah.
choice, but
And
But
now the
anyone
contract
going
has said
forward.
that, so how many did we get officially?
another 5, I believe.
Another 5.
I'd be curious
Actually, it
just to
might
see
be
the
more than
grade,
5, actually. Let me just
where
think
they,
about
where
that
the,
for a
like,
minute.
where the grades are for those, for
They're
the,
the younger.
Staff.
the
They're-
contract
they're
ones, just to
3,
see
yeah,
what.
they're younger.
3, but there's one, I think there's one in grade,
6th grade,
3rd grade,
Kindergarten.
3 kindergarten, yeah, 3 or 4 kindergarten.
6th grade, 3rd
Third
grade,
grade.
and
and
then
3 in kindergarten.
3 or 4 in
3 or
kindergarten.
4 in kindergarten.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it's 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see that people are taking, that advantage
Mhm.
in the contract, right? I mean,
So we just code them,
Yeah.
we just have to code them a little differently.
right. So we know that we're not getting the school choice money for it.
Right.
Okay.
School lunch, I gave you the participation numbers. They've been pretty consistent. I think that middle high has dropped a little if you look since last year where we had higher numbers. But I think, his à la carte has definitely increased. I put in there 14,000 more than this time last year, so that's pretty significant. But I think that's, the pop-up things he's been having and Julio's really been, making more, different grab-and-go choices and things like that the kids are really enjoying. And at Pembroke, of course, we started the ice cream sale, but it's really been a hit, even though the kids love it.
So
Margaret-
no soda, but ice cream's okay.
Yeah, but you
Well,
should see
the
this
ice
ice
cream
cream,
is
it's
very-
all on the A1 list.
Soda has nothing.
It is it's like healthy ice cream. It really is.
healthy ice
Yes,
cream?
it's
Well,
healthy
it's
ice
fat-free.
Kroger?
cream. It's like, I don't know what's in it, but it's definitely,
Is it good? Have you
Yeah, I
tried
know,
it?
the
Kids
kids
like it.
love it.
My daughter loves it.
Well, so Kyle,
She's
the-
easy,
to go to
but-
school?
Kyle will not buy ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
He bought it the first time and it was,
You didn't like it.
He didn't like it.
well, it wasn't that, I don't think he even ate it. It was messy and he was running out of time
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like the experience
Did
didn't
we
work
re-
for him.
did-
So
we
he-
had
The
these
adjustment we made, we did make some adjustments
Yeah.
after the
I
first
mean,
time.
Like, nice on that end. School-wide, there are some
Don't get her
challenges.
started.
So, we did change it so that now the children buy the ice cream when they're going through the line with their lunch. So they don't feel that pressure of eating
I
their
don't have
lunch
time to
or
eat it.
throwing the lunch away to go get in the ice cream, throw my lunch away so I can stand in a 5-minute line to buy my ice cream. And then not be able to finish it because now lunch is over.
But then do they buy their ice cream?
On their way through the
So now
line.
they buy
Right,
it.
but do
buy their
do
lunch.
they eat their ice cream first and then
Oh,
throw
They
their lunch away?
might.
They may, but
They
at
may.
least they're not,
Yeah,
at least
you
they're.
can't
they're
control
hungry.
They
everything.
can sit and eat
less
Well, they have
pressure.
more
They have
time to
choice.
eat both,
Yeah.
if they're not standing in
I
line
just
twice.
remember it was a big deal for those ice cream days, right,
And,
Chloe?
I mean,
Remember
too,
those days.
like to speak to the health, it does follow the guidelines, believe it or not, of the health policy. So that's how I feel good that we are selling it. Soda, I don't think fits anywhere on health policy.
Well, I just remember the Italian ices they used to have.
Yeah, those would take all
It would
week.
take forever. You know, and the kids would bring them back to the class, and you'd
Oh,
hear
you'd hear it
scrape,
Sticky
scrape, scrape. And then the juice would tip over.
over, yeah.
Oh, the Italian
Oh,
ice.
The
that's
juice was the
funny.
best, you could drink it down when it came.
I will say,
It's all just sugar.
Sugar. It's all sugar, of course it is.
the first ice cream day aligned with the box tops competition day. So my daughter,
Oh,
so
no.
we were all excited to buy ice cream the first day, but she couldn't because she was getting it later in the day in the classroom, and that was a little.
For box, for
Oh,
box
that
tops.
Because they had the most box
Well, I didn't
tops.
realize that.
So they
It-
couldn't
it'll- I'm
get,
sure
so they
it's
couldn't get
randomly
twice,
aligned.
yeah.
What is
And
it?
it was, what do you mean I can't buy it in lunch and have it an hour later in the classroom?
Well, what are the chances
Well,
that
yeah.
those
It's
would
just a
collide?
line.
You know.
So I will just tell you publicly, although I'm sure Michael and Cheryl, you've seen them this week. The other problem we were having is a lot of parents were forgetting to send their child
Oh, yeah.
ice cream money. And then through the day, and
Lining up.
poor Mrs. Collins and Mrs. Dion would be getting parents walking in, can you deliver the $1? And we said, it just, we can't. It takes people away from the front office. It's tears, for the child waiting for the parent. So if they just know, you forget it, you have it next week.
Right.
So we're not going to
Yeah,
deliver
we
the
can't do
$1.
that.
Yeah, that's a
Well, and
lot.
they, weren't kids sharing money? Like
Oh,
they,
so they had $20 and.
I'd be like, put it on my school box. Put it on my school box.
$20.
They're not letting them do that.
Now there's a black
ice-
market for
ice
it.
cream.
cash
Ice cream
only.
for everybody. Come on.
Cash only.
You're my friend
Very
today.
generous child.
Actually, yeah, I'm more
Nice.
curious. Why is that not a My School Bucks option?
'Cause it's
And I'm
It's
not.
not reimbursable, I don't think.
And Sean, I think
the
originally
cash.
he wanted to just keep it like separate,
Yeah.
and he
Right.
wanted to just,
Track
it was
it as
kind of
a la
a,
carte.
something that he initiated.
Yeah, I mean, we can have a conversation
I
about
can.
it,
Oh, yeah,
but
no,
that's,
I'm not.
but
It
that's,
was-
that's was why, he just tracked it separately,
I think
yeah.
he was thinking it was separate from school lunch, and it was kind of like a treat, like, kind of like at the middle high, I think if they do that, they have to, I'm not sure if they can use the.
I don't know,
use
that,
kids
I
in
guess
there.
we'd
You have to
have to
pay
look.
for it.
Oh, you can't use your,
I don't think so.
You have to pay for it.
Yeah, I believe so. I think the same with like the chips and stuff. Actually, no, I think that goes to my bus. I'm not really sure. I've
I'll
never
have
bought
to,
an
I'll
ice
ask
cream.
him, I'll
It
ask
might be a
him.
special treat, but it's never going away.
Well,
based on the
Yeah,
the
no, I know it's
excitement
been,
of
it's
the-
been received very well by the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just had to work out the logistics,
Oh,
and you'd think it'd be like a simple thing, right?
Yeah,
But it's
I
like,
know.
oh,
But
wow,
they have a short lunch too, so
they do,
that was challenging,
but we all worked together and it came out.
So, that's pretty much it, unless you guys have any questions on anything.
Any questions about it? No?
Thank you for
Anybody?
answering my questions.
You're welcome.
Covered all the important ground here, so thank you.
And there's still money. Yes.
And there's
Cause the budget was frozen in
The
November.
budget was
Right, the
frozen, that's
budget
right.
was frozen, we did have a couple of changes in special education in the spring here, so, which was fortunate for us.
Yep.
Financially fortunate.
Yes, financially fortunate.
Okay, so we do have, two evaluations this evening. We have the school committee self-evaluation, and then we also have the, superintendent's evaluation. So, I'm gonna start off with the school committee self-evaluations. I wanna thank all of you for, taking the time to, do them and then send them right back to Nancy and I. That was, much appreciated. No surprises, with this. So what the school committee is charged, with in this aspect is to, rate, ourselves, each individual or the committee as a whole, in different, categories such as governance, operations, member relations, committee and superintendent relations, strategic planning and fiscal management, as well as community relations. One is indicative of strongly agree, two is agree, and then three is three not applicable?
Disagree.
Please disagree.
Three is disagree and
Four is
four is
not.
don't know. So, when I start off under the governance, category, it basically asked the committee questions, about our policies, as far as are they clear and up to date, a mission statement, if it has been adopted, if the committee regularly evaluates the progress relative to the goals and objectives that we've adopted, that we refrain as a committee from involvement in the administration of the school system, as well as if we take part in educational workshops and conferences, which is what I had asked Dorothy about, because that was the only one that tended to be a little different, but not surprising, because Michael has always been great in going to the November conference. Pam seems to enjoy the
Day on the Hill.
the day on the hill,
Yep.
so you take that, which is great, and then we get feedback from both of you. So it isn't necessarily, it's not necessary that we all go to both of them,
Right.
you know, to those big events, but again, it's great that we at least have one member that can do that. I know some committees send their whole group out. So under the, if our policies are clear and up to date, we scored a 1.4. There were two that were strongly agree, or three that strongly agree and two that agreed. In terms of if we've adopted a mission statement, that would be all ones across the board, because we have done that.
I mean, I just say about the policies is that, I mean, the governance committee, we have been meeting on a very regular basis. We do have a robust
Sure,
amount of work in front of us, so. And it's difficult because I think there's so many policies and, you know, some of them are
Some of them are, antiquated.
Right.
Well, we happened to pull up one this week that was last updated in 2007. Like, you know, so, so,
That's
and
when we
again,
had-
we're
that's when we
like,
had Mike
Sure.
Gilbert, actually come in and work through the policy manual with the school committee.
Right.
So that's why you
That's
see
why
that
it
so
was
many policies updated in 2007.
Right, but, and some of the
well,
ones.
and we're just
really
working with them
complex. We've
on
just-
such a regular
As we
basis.
need them,
So we're recognizing a few that,
Well, a lot of things have come up in the last few years that we need to either,
Like crowdfunding and gender
yeah.
equity, these are both
Field
kind
trip.
of relatively
and those aren't
new topics.
easy
They're not.
things. I mean, you have to do some
Student activities.
investigative work and things like
Yes.
that. So the governance committee, it really does have a
I
heavy
enjoy it.
workload.
I like it
It's-
a lot.
But it is a
I
heavy
really do.
workload.
But I'm just, so we're just doing the best we can.
Yeah, so the governance so has a heavy workload like throughout the year, whereas like budget and finance is busy at a particular time, and then negotiations is busy at a particular time, but it seems like governance is
Steady.
busy throughout. There's never a lack of work on that end. So in terms of, evaluating the progress relative to our goals and objectives, that scored, an average of 1.8. refraining from involvement in the school administration also was a 1.8, and again, the committee members taking part in educational workshops was a 2.4. I do think it would be beneficial if we did schedule Dorothy to come out and have, not necessarily a summer workshop, but something in the evening, in the fall maybe, that we could pick her brain and do, you know, have like a nice little committee workshop, and we could decide what we'd like to have the topics surrounding.
You know, it might be nice just to get to know her a little bit better, because, you know, we've been working with Mike for a long time.
Right.
And now,
Yeah,
and I'm
now
sure,
we're
I know
in the
Dorothy
phase.
has a lot to offer, but it'd be
Yeah.
nice.
Sure. Roles of the committee officers are defined, that was a 1, so that was great, everyone strongly agreed with that. And then, the new members receiving introductory training, so as we talked about before, we haven't really had a new member, so, but I'm looking forward to seeing the handbook that you have,
So we should, pull that
together.
out.
That was completed a long time.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
It's ready
that
to roll
we
if
worked
we
on
ever
it.
need it, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
right.
yeah, anytime.
Well, we should bring it back to the committee and just,
definitely, yeah, I'd love
okay.
to see it.
So Nancy, we'll have to,
Was that part of public relations, or was
no,
that
I think
part
it
of
was part, was that,
governance? It was a
no, it was separate.
Yeah, it was a
As
separate
a
group.
separate,
Yeah,
okay.
new orientation,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we'd love to,
Was it
Take a
Cheryl
look at that.
and you?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, we
So
have it somewhere.
maybe if we
can-
made
Because
that
we each did different parts, right?
reactivated that in the fall, and we could bring it forth in the fall.
yeah, because there really isn't a,
not
you
a
know,
pressing
the,
need
for the
right
next
now.
year, right. So the fall would be good,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, just get it finally approved in the way the whole committee is comfortable with, and then we'll
Yeah,
have it.
Sure.
makes sense.
Okay. Procedures and protocols to committee operations are published and understood. That also was a, strongly agree across the board. So in terms of member relations, this is basically surrounding how the committee itself operates and how we work together. And I was thrilled to see that the first 4 were all 1, which would be indicative of strongly agree. That would be members treat each other with courtesy and respect. We're encouraged to voice opinions. They respect the will of the majority and support decisions once they are made, and then members share pertinent information with each other to prevent surprises. So that's all good things. Also, members do their homework and come prepared to make decisions. That was either a strongly agree or agree, which I, agree on that. We all, are prepared as we sit in these chairs for what's gonna, come before us. And then members understand the role of the individual as part of the whole group, so that also was, a 1.4. Under the committee and superintendent relations, this basically talks about the relationship that we share with the committee, with the superintendent. That would include, topics such as, regularly evaluates the superintendent using a mutually agreed upon process. Frequency of communications are agreed to in advance. The superintendent is accessible to committee members. Committee members contact the superintendent when seeking information. The superintendent informs the committee of major personnel decisions. The superintendent and committee treat each other with mutual respect and professionalism. And the committee and the superintendent operate on a no surprise model, which all of them were 1. We had all of them were 1, and then we had a 1.4, which was the types and frequency of communications are agreed to in advance. So that, to me, is also indicative of a great working relationship. We do feel comfortable going to the superintendent whenever we have questions, and, I can say that it's very rare that, I get a response, later than that day. So I appreciate that, and I'm sure you can all pretty much agree to that. The open door policy as far as the school committee is concerned with you is great,
Sure.
even on vacations or, us vacation or you're vacationing, we are able to, reach you, which is always nice. But we don't
My
abuse
pleasure.
that as well.
No, you don't. I agree.
And the fact that we treat each other with mutual respect and professionalism. I am very proud of that because it doesn't happen in all, districts.
True.
So, I
Very true.
appreciate that. I have always had the pleasure of working with a great group of committee members. And this group is no different. We all, you know, really enjoy spending our every other week with each other.
That was not asked in the survey.
And, you know, I feel fortunate, you know, on a personal note, to be able to work with all of you. The student rep has always been great, and we love having you here and sharing all that you do with us in terms of your educational experience, so thank you for that. The superintendent and all the administrative team is wonderful to work with, and never do we feel that we couldn't go to you for any reason, so that, you know, is greatly appreciated. Strategic planning and fiscal management, so that would be basically long-term strategic plan exists and is regularly reviewed. That is a strongly agree. The constituencies of the school district are involved in the strategic planning process. That is an agree. The budget process is documented and published. That's a strongly agree. We definitely do that. Budgets are developed based on needs from the bottom up. That also is a strongly agree. And the committee as a group presents and advocates the budget to the community. Yes, that's a strongly agree. Committee receives regular reports with budget and financial status for the school system. That's a strongly agree. And Suzanne, you do a great job with keeping us abreast of all the financial aspects. And I know it's not an easy job, but you definitely do it with ease and confidence, and that allows us to have the confidence in you, so thank you for that. You're great. Community relations, the committee has a public relations plan for the school system, so across the board, aside from one person, it was agreed, one person strongly agreed with that. The committee encourages the inclusion of community members in as much decision-making as possible, strongly agree. I think the committee definitely involves the community when it's, you know, it's a district, something's changing in the district. We obviously would love to hear from all the stakeholders, and the community is definitely welcome to come to any of our meetings to talk about whatever issues they may have, so we welcome that. And finally, the committee works cooperatively with other branches of municipal government, and that across the board was a 1. I think under the superintendent's leadership, we have a great relationship with all town departments, so thank you for that. And again, that isn't something that occurs in other districts, but the Georgetown Police Department, the Fire Department, the Highway Department, the Georgetown Light, Georgetown Electric, all amazing to work with.
They are.
They help us out whenever we ask them to help us out. And actually, I want to give a shout out to Georgetown Electric, because they're donating bug spray and sunscreen for the senior trip.
Oh, wow.
You know, so that's
helpful.
Yeah, well, we were figuring, we're like, who would have that other than CVS? And they're like, oh, the people that work for the light department need to have that stuff.
Have to
So
have it, right.
they were more than generous with their donation, as they always are. Working with Peter Durkee and his group have always been great. And of course, the fire and police are wonderful. But again, I think that is definitely attributed to the relationship that you have with them. So thank you for that. Does anyone want to add anything to that mouthful of information?
I think you summarized it beautifully.
I think it basically just indicates that we're in tip-top shape. We're all
I think there's a lot of
working well
respect.
together. Yeah, you have to have that, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for it to really work as well as it does.
Right.
Mutual respect allows us to,
Absolutely.
you know, to speak, have great dialogues of listening and learning, and sometimes we agree and sometimes we don't agree, and both of those are all right and fine. As long as we're exploring everything we need to in a respectful way, which I believe we do. So
I
thank
agree.
you.
Sorry. So it's my second year on this committee, and I think before anything would happen, you just like magically happen, but you just didn't know how it happened. But like after just kind of sitting all in these meetings and everything, it's just like all the hard work that you do. It's like I appreciate it a lot, and I think other people do, even though they don't realize that you do it. It's just, yeah. So that's.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for
that's
saying
great.
that. We
Thank you.
appreciate that.
Sweet.
And you guys are the reasons why we do it,
That's correct.
right?
Right.
But that's awesome, thank you, you've been great. 2 years too, which I don't remember any student rep, when I was there, it was always
It
listed.
rotated, yeah.
But you were student council president for both years, that's why. Do you know who it is next year?
This Monday, no, Tuesday, because we don't have school this Monday, but we'll find out, because that's when we have
Oh, okay.
elections.
All right.
So I'll let them know about the meetings.
Elections
and they have
occurred,
to be here.
at least the,
Yeah, the
think the
student council and the
officers.
officers, but we do our separate one in student
Gotcha.
council to do the officers and stuff like
So
that.
you hand the baton over.
Yep, so that will be Tuesday, and I'll tell he or she that they need to go to the meetings.
After
great.
the election.
Yes, yes. See who
That's
wins.
great.
So they
Well, we
don't-
look
they-
forward to seeing you in the upcoming, the awards ceremony. So we'll be seeing you there and at graduation. Yes, and at graduation. I
Pray
hope
for outside.
a beautiful
I know it's supposed
day.
to. It looks like it's going to be good weather, so hopefully that
Really?
doesn't
Good.
change.
I haven't even started looking that far out. I don't even want to get stressed out yet.
I
It'll be
don't.
good.
I don't want to look
Actually,
because
do-
I'm scared.
I know,
That's what I've
I
heard.
know. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be perfect.
It's beautiful anyway. It's a great ceremony.
And it will be beautiful inside or out. The out, I know everybody would prefer that, and there are reasons for
Well,
that,
just
but
'cause
I-
everybody can
the
come.
indoor ceremonies, which are also very beautiful events.
Yes.
We're praying for outside.
Does anyone else wanna?
I have an anatomy test.
Okay,
Thank
you,
you, Chloe.
Chloe.
Thank you. Does anyone else wanna talk about or add anything to the school committee self-evaluation?
Just thank you for everything you do. I mean, I know it's a tremendous amount of work.
Great, it is.
And,
Jared's very important.
I love
It's
the
a lot
fact
of
that you share so many articles and little news blurbs with us to keep us current.
Well, that's good, even though sometimes they're
They're
not all that.
depressing.
They're not usually
Some are
positive.
funny, most are depressing. But,
Yeah.
but it's great because, otherwise I really wouldn't get that information.
You should be thanking
On
me
my
that I'm
own.
not sending it to you
No,
at like
no,
2 in the morning.
No,
and I-
no, she's trying to teach and it's coming through, you gotta read her article.
Well, I think it's the reality.
It is the reality, unfortunately.
We do have to think about that every day, you know.
Yeah. No, I like how we all share when we see things that we think will, give us insight into things that could be affecting our district and just funny things that we may, if we're having a bad day, we just need to have a uplift, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'll move on to the superintendent's evaluation. So Nancy, I don't have them physically in front of me. Do people have their own?
So I printed mine, but I
so
don't,
good.
but I don't
That's
think,
all right.
I don't think I printed all the pages,
Yeah, that's
or
okay.
I
Nancy,
ran
do
out
you
of paper or something.
I sent them and I thought,
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't have them.
Yeah, that's okay.
So-
I do have them on my computer if I need to pull them up.
Sent
but-
an email?
Well, it's just, I just took everything and did a summative amongst all 5. But then I'm gonna allow you all to, put in what you would like to, and I just didn't know if you would need to have your actual evaluation, that's fine. Okay, so what I'll do is I will just go through the, I'll highlight some of the comments that people have made, and then I will just go through the grading, I guess you would call it. So, under instructional leadership, you receive 5 proficient scores. Under management and operations, it was 2 proficient and 3 exemplary. Family and community engagement was 1 proficient, 4 exemplary. Professional culture, 5 proficient. Overall evaluation was 5 proficient, which is outstanding. So thank you.
Thank you.
For that. Have you had an opportunity to take a look at them yet?
No.
Okay. Thank you for the binder. It was very well organized, very detailed.
Thank these guys for the binder too, we were all.
Yeah, it's great to have that tangible, to
Right.
to just flip through, and
It's
then
very
the
impressive.
way it was listed, it actually gave you like, okay, this is
The standards, how
in
she had
evidence
everything
of
into the
this.
standards was great.
Yeah,
Well,
very
it was.
impressive.
I guess just like for the public, the binder is
Oh.
is specifically the evidence that Carol is presenting.
Said binder.
Oh, there it is, right
There it
there.
is.
We
Yeah.
waited.
Yes. So this is the binder that we all have an opportunity to take a look at.
Right, that includes the evidence that Carol is meeting her goals as presented in her goals.
Yes, yeah, so that was, great that you have put that together the last few years. And then everyone is, very respectful of the time that they take with it, so it can go through the whole committee, which is very nice. So a few of the comments that I wanna highlight, and I'm just gonna mention them, not saying who actually said it, but, consensus is we're all pleased with the security upgrades that have occurred at all of our schools. The importance of, staff members and students feeling safe as they walk through that door, is obviously paramount to you. So I think that, says a lot. We are definitely a district that I think is a step ahead of a lot of other districts, and I feel that way because of, the SROs telling us that, because they deal with a lot of SROs in other districts, and when they say what we have done to make our schools more secure, they're impressed, so that in turn makes me impressed. So I'm glad that we all mentioned that, and again, that's big in our minds just because of the way we live today, so
And
thank
I
you.
like the fact that we did that, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like a prison. Like,
Definitely
I still feel
not.
like people feel welcome
Welcome.
coming to the school, but
Completely.
it's, so we were really trying to be conscious of that, right?
Mhm.
Like, what's the balance?
So it's not just that, it's also the relationship that the students at Margaret School, the young students, they have with the police officer.
Right,
Mhm.
yes,
And then
absolutely.
that just transcends all the way up to the middle school, so,
Yeah,
you know.
so when they look at the police officer, they're not looking at it that in fear.
It's scary, right.
Yeah, he does a great job with that age group.
Mhm.
And Officer Laura's
Oh,
been
she's
great over there
great,
too. The kids seem to have a great relationship with her, so as far as that's concerned, I think the Chief Cudmore did a great job in recognizing who would
the
put
To place at the
Yeah.
schools.
so that's great. So we are proud that we're a standout district for installing the vape detectors at the middle high school. I think that's a big deal too, and the fact that Principal Richards was actually interviewed about that, and that was on, somebody told me the other day they heard it on NPR. Yeah, it was on
Yeah, it was
NPR
on
just the
NPR.
other day.
Oh, wow.
And they were very impressed by that. They're like, "Did you know?" I'm like, "Of course I knew." You know? But the fact that they didn't, which it was great. So I'm very proud of that. The superintendent guided the schools through the new generation MCAS, which was a big deal.
Yes.
Mentoring new principal and assistant principal at the middle high school was also, a big deal. We haven't had much change at the middle high school for some time in terms of the leadership there, so that, it was a change, and we appreciate the time that you have taken to give Principal Richards the support that he needs as he makes his transition to this school district, and I hope that you feel, welcome in the district, and I know I'm very much appreciative of the work that you've done this year, so thank you. Worked well with the Budget and Finance Subcommittee, as well as Suzanne, to develop and present a budget of 4.4% to the FinCom, even though that isn't what we were looking for. It was not much different, 4.9 to 4.4, and that was without any classroom teachers being cut. So thank you for that. You've always done a great job with your budgeting skills. And I also want to give a shout out to Michael. Cheryl, you're great as well, but Michael,
He's the expert.
he knows his numbers, and I had a chance to be on the Budget and Finance Subcommittee with Ann Blythe when I first was on it, and she was Michael. She knew numbers, and I was very intimidated, and it helped me to have that support, and I'm sure you feel the same way. So thank you for all that.
Now you're never getting off.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I picked up on that.
Don't have any interest in any other subcommittee, because it's not happening.
Sounds like governance doesn't do much, so.
So working alongside curriculum director, so Paula McDonald, supporting the need for new curriculum such as Second Step, STEM scopes, Too Cool for Drugs, new science curriculum at the middle high school. I want to say that, Colin has always been, just a very easy person to deal with in anything we ask. And I'm saying this in the superintendent's evaluation because she hired you, she made the decision to hire you.
Good decision.
And it was a great decision, and, the committee just is very much, crazy about you and your work. You do awesome, and all the great things I hear from the people that work with you every day is a testament to, how great you are, so thank you.
Except for he does not bring coffee and donuts to the.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Terry Brooks called him out tonight, when she's funny, she's got a sense of humor, and she was talking about, she mentioned that she thought maybe Colin might be there, but she wanted to thank him for bringing coffee and pastries to the math vertical team, but he doesn't do it.
My professional learning goal.
She was giving you a dig, that's Terry.
Yes. She goes, you're gonna tell him, right? I said, I'm gonna tell him.
So there we go.
Food motivates.
It definitely does. So helped institute a more inclusive model, special education. You played,
Jack's a lot to
yes,
that too.
I'll talk about Jack in a minute too.
I love that she's featuring all of us, because we are a team. It really is true. I couldn't do what I'm doing by
Well,
myself.
we all felt that way, like
Yeah.
in terms of that.
Yes.
so
It's hard, yeah. Everything she does, but I know it's team.
It's a team, right?
So played a lead role in establishing a committee to research a community youth center at the Pearly School, which has always been a discussion we've had for some time about her wanting to do that. This required working with other town departments and gathering parent and student volunteers, which have not been difficult to
No,
find.
they've been
Everyone's
wonderful.
very excited about it. Being a member of the Georgetown Royal Sports Boosters new committee, and she provides valuable insight into revitalizing this much-needed organization. I'm just hoping that it moves forward. We were sad to hear that the president, Shannon Dow, who did a great job in revitalizing this and getting all the people together, is moving. So that was kind of a bummer to
Surprise,
hear.
right, yeah.
But I am confident that the people that are in place now have the same attitude as she does, that it just definitely needs to be revitalized, and they just did a fundraiser, which is going well, so.
Did you all get flocked?
I got
I saw you.
I did not get
There are
flogged.
flamingos everywhere.
There are flamingos everywhere. They're doing a great job.
They really
And the
are.
fact that they're
And it's so
including
much
the
fun.
children, the students and
Yes.
everything, it's great. It's been wonderful, and it's different. It's a different type of fundraiser.
Although I just went through North Andover, I was coming off the highway and going through North Andover, and they had
do it too.
flamingos.
Andover does it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they had
and it goes
flamingos
from-
on the wall.
From all the middle schools. on-
Yeah, you had said that it's very successful there too.
Really
so-
successful.
Yes, I think they had every night planned or whatever from the whole month.
Yeah.
They had said.
They were
So,
thinking they had to buy more flamingos.
Yeah, so it's been great, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this, this committee do great things, because the athletic department, and the student athletes in Georgetown deserve, to go out there and be proud of, the school that they play for, so I think this is gonna be great. Leading the RAP committee, responsible for, the researching the, need for, or the desire for Blizzard bags. And that's also a great, group of people that you have, and it's such a, it's between the administrators, and then the parents and school committee members, and, just the way you all work together. It was great having them here last week and, telling us how they, come to, how they're gonna proceed with it. I enjoyed the fact that they had said they had to take, votes at some times, because it could be, people think this way and people think that way, but I think that's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing if that, works for us. Continuing to excel, with the way you engage with the community, that shouldn't be a surprise to you, definitely isn't to us. You went above and beyond this year, though, when you chaperoned the Disney World music parents
I love those.
field trip, because that was quite an undertaking. It was 5 days. You chaperoned like 8 to 10 girls.
I did 10 girls.
Yeah, so keeping, making sure the kids were safe. I saw you there, though. You were having a great time.
I was.
So I was glad for that, but that really is going above and beyond. The amount of time you spend at the school and community events is beyond commendable. You attend sports banquets, sporting events, Kiwanis, pancake breakfast, school events such as the Pembroke Spelling Bee, art shows, literacy night, National Honor Society, induction ceremonies, PTA and GEF meetings and their events, Georgetown Cares meetings, school concert and plays, just to name a few.
Mayor?
Yeah, to say that you go to all wouldn't really be an understatement, because there are times that I see her on the fields at soccer games in between meetings, just there to cheer on the kids. She's at the basketball games on Friday nights, and all the concerts, and it's just nice to see when I walk down the halls with her at school, the kids actually see you almost as like a celebrity. You know, the rapport that you have with the kids is very nice,
But the
because
fact that she knows all the kids' names as well
Right.
is so impressive.
yes, it is very nice to see that. And you know, when I was back in school, the school superintendent was, you didn't
Didn't even know their name.
no, right, you yeah, it was
Or what they look
just
like.
they were
Not
scary.
scary.
No, you aren't, but I remember mine was.
Right, so
And they just had it the snow days. Like that's what they did.
right, they were just this like enigma, that you didn't know if they were really there. But, you know, that is definitely something that you should be proud of, that you really do make it a point to have our students, as well as the staff, just feel so much support. And when you're not there, it's so funny that the kids, they notice it, you know?
I know.
So, you know, thank you
Thank
for
you.
that, because it does go a long way with the parents too.
Yeah. You know, and when you're in a place for a while, right, you have relationships. Like, I was talking to some parents the other day of kids that I've known them since their kids were at Pearly preschool, right, and now they're in high school, so it's nice to be able to do that. And just tonight, even be able to, you know, they asked me to speak at retirement parties, and I appreciate that, you know, because I actually can say personal things about them because I know the staff. So I'm grateful for that opportunity. You know, it's what I love anyway, right? So part of that is just who I am, but it is also a function of being able to work in a town, in a district that's a great size. You know, that
That you do
know,
get to
that
know
you get
people
to
on a
know
personal
people,
level.
right? You get to know people on a personal level. So, you know,
Yeah.
that is
a
something I
nice
do
thing about
enjoy. So
Georgetown.
thank you for the recognition of that.
Sure.
Well, and I guess the other thing is whenever Carol's not somewhere, we get worried.
I
Like,
know, I
it's
missed
town
the
meeting.
I know.
We're concerned that you were in a ditch
Yeah,
somewhere.
well,
you
thank
know?
you. I did appreciate the concern.
Like,
Yeah,
oh,
she didn't have the right date on it.
I didn't have the right date on my
That was
calendar.
the first town meeting that she did not attend. so
Yeah, like
she's
I
been-
even attended town meetings before I was officially like working in the district, so it's like, I'm like, oh my God, I missed the town meeting. But,
That's
you know, I do apologize again for that, I just had the wrong date.
Right. You have a
Thank you
great,
for worrying about me.
you also have a great rapport with the custodial staff at the schools. You're always quick to compliment them on the
They're
schools
great.
appearance, and I have to say that they do a great job.
do do
I'm
a
very
great job.
impressed with the way the school looks. You know, throughout, all three schools look great. You're doing well improving the district's communications with families and staff by utilizing Twitter, blogging, and also the grapevine. Communication is a big deal now with, you know, people just, when they ask a question, they wanna know. You know, and I do think that you do a great job, and, you know, even if there's sensitive, topics out there that need to be addressed, you have no problem addressing them, and that's not always easy. But very, happy with the way that you have handled those sensitive issues as well. You welcome the evaluation process of the special education department through the Walker Partnership. All the comments that the district received were appreciated and were also used to further benefit the special needs subgroup. And with that, I just wanna say to Jack, you know, I have, been personally been very happy with the way he has, communicated with the families of the, yeah, of everybody that, yeah, everybody that, you need to deal with. I think you do a great job. It's not, your job isn't easy. I know that there are
No.
parents that, you know, it's difficult when you're a parent and your child is going through, some issues that, you know, you as a parent don't know how to, help, or, you know, but you've always been great in terms of talking to parents at a level that they can actually understand what you're talking about. It's sometimes hard to, when you talk to doctors or something, that they go a little above, but, Jack, you're always great about making sure that the parent, is aware of what the plan is, that the plan is going to actually be executed. You make sure you follow through with that. The people that work under you have a lot of respect for you. They enjoy working for you. And I enjoy working with you as well. So thank you for that. And again, you know, we were part of the whole process of interviewing you, and I think, we're all pleased with that, decision that we made to bring you on board. And I hope you're just as happy to have us as we are to have you.
One of the nice things about all the administrators is the level of collaboration. I think that's one of our sort of hallmarks. We all believe in that, right? So if there's something going on, like Jack and Dan and I are working on, you know, kind of looking at the middle school special ed structuring, and it's just fun to like get together, say what do we think the problem is, and we engage the teachers, and it's just fun to, you know, if you're trying to solve a problem, you want to make sure you're trying to solve the right problem, right? So if everybody's in the room and we can all, you know, kind of, you know, nobody's voice is louder than anybody else's, but it's collaborative, you come up with a better product in the long run. And so that's one of the things that, I mean, just everybody here has that philosophy, and I think that is a really something that's working throughout the entire district. You know, not only are we a good team, but I think our philosophy in solving problems and working together is to not, you know, make a knee-jerk reaction to something and then, you know, realize we have another problem that we've now created for ourselves. So thank you for, really, I want to thank you for recognizing the team, because they really do
Margaret
deserve
too.
it. They
Yeah,
really do
Margaret
deserve
too.
it. And
I'll
Margaret
get to
too.
Margaret too.
We'll get to Margaret, okay. All right, Margaret, you're gonna
getting
get there.
So addressing the high needs, students' challenges when it comes to standardized testing, making progress on the PPI targets at an encouraging pace.
Yeah.
Your continued support of the Georgetown Cares organization, also bringing the Hidden in Plain Sight, was great, and it was,
She's invaluable.
That
to
was
have
great,
Yeah.
that was really great.
that was really
well attended.
very well
That was
attended.
Because other
Um,
other towns have done it. Pam and I have gone to a couple, and then Hamilton Wenham came to ours, and then they did one. And I think they said they got maybe 20 people. You know, so it was a much slower start there. But I think everybody said we really had the most success.
It's a wonderful, you know, event, and it has so much to offer, but I think Carol came up with a structure that I believe is most responsible for the really great community response, which
Yeah.
was the 4 30-minute tours that,
Yeah.
you know, allowed people, they could be standing, it was interactive, they had resource tables to go to afterwards, and they didn't have to like sit for 2 hours. They knew they could, you know,
Yeah,
it could
come
be
in
like
and out,
30
yeah.
to 45 minutes.
It was
and
great.
It was just perfect. People, because they want to learn, they want
They
to
do.
be there.
Well, that's, yeah,
but
the
Carol
education
came up
needs
with
to
that
happen.
strategy.
But the communication, we really hit the
Put it out,
communication.
and you were fabulous
Yeah.
at helping out with the communication too.
So
Yes.
that
So,
that was
thank you.
huge, just getting the information out. Pam did a flyer, and
Thank
you know, again, it you know, there's virtually nothing that I do 100% by myself. I might have the idea, I might put my support behind it, I might offer, you know, some skills or expertise that I might have, but it really is, the value is, you know, things come together when you engage people, right, and you take advantage of the special skills and talents of people. I'm pretty good at knowing who would be good to tap for certain things, because I care about the people part of the work.
Right.
I would say that's something you're recognizing, and I appreciate that.
Sure.
Well, and it was very visible in the binder. the impact that all these folks had
On that.
on your
Oh,
goals, yeah.
absolutely.
Right. Okay, so.
It's very special.
That to me, I just wanna say too, the event, I think it being a huge success, it just goes to show that the community is looking for further education when it comes to
Yeah.
destructive decision making with children. So I commend you too, because this has been a baby of yours for a long time.
Absolutely.
I think it's time now that this is gonna really move.
And I think that,
because
Barbie,
it's-
is why we're having so much interest in the town around the youth center. For that same
Yes,
reason,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
people want.
People want a place,
People
a safe
want,
place.
right, and
To go.
they are hearing what's out there in the news, and they're understanding that, you know, to be proactive is always better than to be reactive.
To
Right.
build
Right.
protective factors is, prevention works better than treatment.
Mhm.
Right.
So-
And assets are
Yes.
better than, you know, building assets is better than reacting to
Right, right.
circumstances once there's issues.
So on a more personal note from me, I just wanna say that, I view the superintendent as a highly qualified and exceptional school leader. Constantly continuing her professional growth, it's very important to you to always
It is.
be, at the top. The concerns that I had a year ago, have been addressed specifically surrounding the, athletics and the food services department. Hiring a full-time AD, and a new trainer has been instrumental, I think, in the overall, athletic program and the way parents are viewing it. It's allowed the, assistant principal, Prescott, to focus solely on his assistant principal duties, which are, a long list. And I'm happy for him also that he has been able to, have a little stress removed from him. I'm happy that we're able to maintain the current user fees for the upcoming school year. I know that you recognize that parents can't, be fully responsible for the financial shortages of the athletic, budget. The revitalization of the sports boosters, as I mentioned before, should help,
I agree.
with the model that they've proposed. So it should alleviate some of the difficulties that revolving account, has seen through the years. Food services is moving in the right direction with Sean as the food service director. I think he's done a great job. He's always, very excited and happy about his, food offerings and things like that, and I think
It's
that's
his
great.
passion, right?
Yeah, you can tell. So it's good to see the new menu items that are being offered, even the healthy options are, being, desired by the students. Hiring the new cook at the middle high school was great.
He's done a great job.
Seems to be working out well for him, and in a perfect world, there'd be no student, balances, but, we aren't the only district that faces that problem, as I read
No.
through so many things.
Definitely not.
It's a big,
Ours are pretty low.
Ours are low
Yeah,
compared to
ours
what
are
we're
much
hearing
lower.
from around, yeah, absolutely.
Well, and how far we've come in 3
3
years.
years.
yes.
So it's about
Right?
continuous improvement, right? You never arrive, you just have to keep evolving.
Right.
Yeah.
And that I also wanna say that, I thank the community for the support, anonymous donations that
Oh.
have come in, so frequently that people really don't wanna see children, shamed or not be able to have that food, so the community is great with that support. I'm gaining more and more confidence, in the special education department under, Jack's leadership, and with many discussions that the superintendent and I have had. I love the culture that you support and your belief that special education, children want and need to be challenged. I love the idea of, that you recently had of going to the middle school and actually, walking around or doing a day in the life of a special education,
We did that.
staff member, and I think that just goes to show how important it is for her to actually see that our special education kids are getting, the services that they need, and also seeing the staff and making sure that the staff is well, supported too, and I got that from you, that it wasn't just the student, you were also concerned with the staff.
Right, well, they brought some concerns to Jack and I, but, just some things that they had been feeling, and, they had some concerns. And then, we have looked at the situation as a group and made the decision. I know I said to the teachers, I really want to understand what's happening, right? So you're telling me these things, but it'll be hard if I can't see it. If I can just follow you, then I'll have a better sense. And, you know, many districts, people would be like, what? Like, you know, nobody's coming to follow me, kind of thing. But that was not the case at all, right? So Dan and Jack were a team, because we thought having two people at the same time, we could bounce what we see off of each other. And then I went with Chris Aldoni. And so we literally spent 4 days, you know, on whatever schedule we could, shadowing, you know, for most of the day, each special education teacher in their program. So now when we get together and we talk about, we just had a meeting the other day where we had all the teachers came back together and we all, you know, so I could participate in that conversation better because I had seen stuff. You know, we had talked to the teachers. We had a better sense of exactly what their concerns and worries are. And now, tomorrow afternoon, Jack and Dan are leading a discussion with the entire special ed department at the middle high school about, you know, sort of what have we found and what changes are we gonna make, but as a result of real information as opposed to just emotions or fear or concern. So, you know, that is what I believe in, right, is, you know, but I love the fact that the teachers were happy to have us, right? And they were happy to, they were happy to talk about, you know, and I asked them some follow-up questions. You know, I certainly made some observations, which they thought were very interesting. I mean, you know, I've been around instruction for a long time. I've been a teacher. You know, I can talk to teachers about teaching and learning, which is something that I hope I never lose that ability to do. But in big districts, superintendents never have that opportunity or never take that opportunity. So, you know, I value that. So
And it says a lot too for the staff that they, you know, aren't and the relationship they have with you, that
I don't think they were
weren't
intimidated by all of us. Did you guys think so?
Right, they were welcoming, and I think that's great, but I do agree that firsthand is the best way to actually see what's going on.
Yeah, no, it was,
So
I
that was
found it
great.
very
I
enriching
was
and
thrilled when you told me about that, so
Yeah.
thank you for
Yes,
that.
you're welcome.
And just on a final note, I just wanna say, as a leader of the school district, the superintendent also finds herself in the hot seat at times, we all know that, whether it would be with us.
You don't get to sit in the seat if you're not
Or
prepared
the
for that.
community as a whole, but the way you handle the situations, that causes angst within the community, I think has, been great. I think you've been able to, diffuse the issues and just know that, and let them know that you really are there for them and for their students, so, it's not always hard, it's not always easy to be in that hot seat, but, who else is gonna be put in that hot seat, right, other than the lead, so
Yeah,
thank
you're
you
sort
for
of
that.
responsible for
The buck
everything, yeah.
stops.
The buck stops there.
Yeah. And also, so with Margaret, I just wanna say, to you, Margaret, I, have had the pleasure of working with you for some time, and, I have tremendous amount of respect for you, not just as a, educational leader, but also as a person. I, have, you know, I support you fully. I think you're just a really great person. And your, devotion and dedication to the district is obvious. We thank you for that.
9 years, right, Margaret? 9 years. 9 years.
Right. And,
Principals don't stay 9 years.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
So,
kudos.
thank you for everything that you do, and also thank you for always being, so welcoming to me, whether it's, you know, seeing when I come into the school, or whether I, you know, have any questions for you, you always are, you know, very easy to work with, and again, I respect you so much.
Very much.
You're welcome.
mutual.
Thank you. And then just finally, I wanna recognize Nancy, because she's
Yes,
been,
Nancy's done a
awesome
great
to all of us.
Oh, yes.
Nancy does,
Nancy
she's
keeps me
another
out of
one that,
trouble.
that really, when you email her, she gets right
Right
back
back,
to you, and I love that, because a lot of times when I'm emailing her, it's like because I'm doing something, and she's always just so quick, and she,
And thorough.
very
Very
thorough.
thorough.
So Nancy, you're great, and, you know, we appreciate everything that you do for us. I know it's not easy, because you have a lot of people, you know, that you're trying to help, and, you know, all of a sudden, if the superintendent needs something, or we need something, I know that it takes away from what you're doing, and, you always, are very, kind to us, and you never make me feel like I'm bugging you, which sometimes I'm sure I am.
There's never a question that she can't answer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Or she won't
Yeah.
get
Well,
back to
she
you.
has great expertise. You've been doing this a long
Right.
time. So thank you for all that you do. And I
Being
apologize
highly
if I was too lengthy in that, but I just felt that it needed to be said. So thank you all. I think you're all great. Great. So who else would like to jump on?
As I was filling it out, it was like, there's just so many great things to say, and I was just saying them over and over and over again. It's like, oh my gosh, it's just
Well, I
such
will
a
look forward to
long-
reading your individual ones.
such a long list,
Thank you, Susan.
Well, I was following along on my list of different things, and she said that, and she said that, and she said that, and that, and that. So I think you summarized
Yeah,
again.
well, it's really great that we all, it's not that we, we take in everything that happens at these meetings, and the fact that at the end of the year, you can remember things that happened in the fall, that you still, a lot of times you forget about those things, but it's great to see everything that has happened from the fall to now, and it's even better to see what's gonna happen next year. I'm looking forward to that.
Well, and I just wanted to say that, I appreciate you sharing things that you don't have to share necessarily, that might be considered operations, but just to give us information.
Just to keep us in
Keep
the
you
loop,
in-
always
yeah,
on the
That's,
same page.
that's
and-
very,
and that's what-
Well, I expect that same thing from the administrators, right? We share information just so that we can be involved. Like, some administrators would not wanna share things with the superintendent for lots of reasons. But I'm fortunate that I don't have people like that. They'll call me up and say, Carol, just a FYI on this, or, this is something that I'm gonna be doing, or, do you have any ideas on this? So, I try to do that with the committee too, I don't
Yeah,
want
that's
you
that
to be.
no surprises
I don't want you to be
model.
in Crosby's and somebody says, oh, this is, and it's a big thing, and you have to stand there and go, well, what, I don't know anything about that. So, I try to keep you informed, but I appreciate that, Cheryl, because I think we do try to, we don't try to create these, definitive lines where, that's mine, this is yours, and when that ever comes up, we just work it out,
Mm-hmm.
right, we just
Oh,
work it out.
absolutely. Yeah.
And that's kind of helped us to all develop a clear idea of our roles, so that we don't, step over boundaries, and that facilitates better communication. and,
Absolutely does.
yeah.
Agreed.
Barbie, you covered a lot of things, so many things, so I won't go through everything that I have, because,
We know PM highlights and.
I do have all my highlights, and
Which
I
I
kind of,
totally appreciate.
divide up my lists of things that I really, really appreciate into different buckets. I have one, new initiatives and challenges, which are just so many. The Youth Rec Center, you mentioned the sports boosters, the implementing second step, the establishing a professional development committee, the community forum, the school safety measures update, which happened last August, so maybe some people might not even remember, but it was big.
It was
when
big.
when it happened.
Definitely.
Mentoring a new, you mentioned the principal and vice principal, and then I have another, so there's more on that list, but I'll stop. Then there's areas of high growth and improvement, continued programs and services, because there's some things that aren't necessarily new initiatives, but they're still on your plate,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
they're
absolutely.
big and they're important.
You can't always do the new stuff.
Right, overseeing the continual implementation of the new SEL curriculums and
Yep.
PBIS, the rolling out of new curriculums to meet new state frameworks and deepen learning, and the new technologies and the iPad. I mean, that I think we're in our
Second
third
year, right?
second
Yep,
year
second
right
year.
now, and I just can't believe how much happens with that all the time, and how it touches every area of
And
instructional
if you go into the schools, you
strategies and-
see them
Oh,
using
definitely.
you
Yeah.
see them using the technology.
They're even using the chargers now. For a long
It's-
time, the chargers
Oh,
were
in the-
used,
yeah.
and I've
In
been
the
seeing them
cafeteria,
in the cafeteria being used.
Really amazing. And then I've just got another whole list of continued programs and services, just things that are like, the continuous improvement to the whole busing situation that goes on every year.
We're in that thick of that right now.
I
You know,
got
I-
the email.
I see my blog.
I will say, I mean, above all, I really see you as a community, as a visionary community builder. I mean, you just, you know, obviously your main purview is the schools, and you're always doing what's best for students. But you understand that it all takes place within a community, and because of that, you need to reach out and really understand what the different departments and the different other community leaders are, you know, need to take in mind to do their job, and so that the whole community really benefits from your very, you know, your expertise and a great vision you have of a community where everyone is, you know, can support each other and understand each other and get there are a lot of different needs, a lot of different people out there, so thank you.
They don't all
you
go in
know,
the same direction sometimes too.
growth, and then I have growth areas and challenges ahead, which is actually we've made a lot of progress in the revolving accounts. I mean, all of those.
I wish I had a magic
I
money
know
tree
you
I
don't.
could plant.
And the Walker Partnership recommendations of more vertical alignment and universal design for learning, and that. But and then finally, you know, I think about leadership, and I found this thing that really resonates with me about 10 key qualities that all great leaders have, and I think you exemplify them in a way that's really, really helpful for everybody in the school district. They communicate clearly, they say what they mean, and they mean what they say. Number 2, they're passionate about their work. Your passion and your dedication, you know, show all the time. You're focused on your mission, and that's doing what's best for students. You keep your mind open, you're approachable, and you're flexible. You work for your employees, helping everyone around you to succeed. You're positive and encouraging, you respect others, you know how to build relationships, you lead by example, and you know that you never stop learning. You're always open to, you know, new information, and you understand that the community life changes constantly, and we always have to be proactive and responsive at the same time. So
Thank you, Pam. I'd like that list, actually.
Oh,
So,
sure,
yeah.
sure.
Well, you've been in education for
Yes,
so
I could
long
use
that
that.
you're not stuck
Yeah.
in what education was, you know,
Yeah, no.
you evolve with it,
Yes.
you know,
But
which is
I-
great.
I appreciate the
21st century
list.
learning to our students.
Does anyone wanna add anything else?
Well, I thank all of you for the feedback. I look forward to continuing to work together next year and in the future, and, you know, I think we have a lot of things to accomplish. I'm proud of our of the people here. I'm proud of our staff. I'm just proud to be part of a community that I think is progressive, is focused on the right things, you know, is going in the right direction, is working in conjunction with the community. You know, and certainly I know I play a big role in that, but one of the things that I learned as a leader long ago is the most important thing is to have the right people on the bus. And I have the right people on the bus, and I'm grateful for that every single day. Not just in the leadership level, but, you know, at the staff level. And, you know, I think we're, you know, everybody brings different skills, gifts, and talents, right? And the goal of leaders is to draw those out. Just like with kids, to draw those out, you know, make, I was telling the ladies today, you know, we're all on these roads, and the job of us is we get on the road and we get off the road at some point and we make it better than it was when we came. And I feel very strongly, you know, if we made the list, like I was thinking before I retire, it'd be really fun to work with people that I work with and say, let's make a list. And you did a great job of highlighting a lot of them, but let's make a list of just all the things that together, you know, we've accomplished during that time. I think we would all be very proud, very proud. And it's not an individual, you know, who does it. You know, certainly a leader makes a difference, but I've always been grateful to the fact that it never had to be about me. It's about us, you know, and all of us and how we work together. So, you know, I love my job, I love my work, I love my people, you know, so thank you for recognizing our hard work and me in
Thank you for your
particular.
service and for believing in all of us, for believing in our community.
Well, thank you. You know, like I said, you know, I'm very grateful, you know, for the opportunity to hear your comments and to continue to work with you. And I think we've got a lot of things going well, and let's just keep going.
Right. And I would be remiss if I did not mention Mike Anderson.
Isn't he amazing?
Is amazing. Not just as the position that he holds here, but he really is a great guy. His group of people too are awesome. They're great.
They accomplish a
But
lot
Mike
of
is
things.
one of those guys that he's just a doer, you
Yes,
know,
he is.
and he never says no to anything. Always so easy to talk to.
You have to work with him on that sometimes, but he is a
really is a good guy.
go-to guy.
He takes on whatever you ask of him.
He's a go-to guy.
And
But
I
he
appreciate that.
he under promises and over delivers.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
doesn't
He's-
over promise.
he's a
When he
good
says he'll do something, it happens.
Yeah,
You're
I
correct.
loved having him on board for the time that he's been here, and he's great.
He's not going anywhere, is he?
No,
No.
no.
Wait a minute.
No.
Wait a minute.
Are we done here? We're almost done, unless Barbie's gonna do sub-reports.
No, I was not gonna do those. So yeah, we are all done.
We're all
So
done.
enjoy reading.
Thank you.
You know, reading
Yes,
them
I'm
over the
looking
next
forward to
couple
doing those, thank you.
of days. And I just wanna say, we do have Baker Adams, we have a Baker Adams meeting on Tuesday night. Nancy, is that at 7 or did we say earlier?
I think we said 6.
Okay, 6. Okay, so 6 on Tuesday night. If you could get the results into Nancy tomorrow, that would be great.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
everybody.
Good night.
You know, it's funny, scholarships, while you're mentioning scholarships, there's a town scholarship, I don't know if you knew about that, but apparently people can, in their,
I just
in their
heard about
tax
this.
bill, they can make donations, apparently, toward this town scholarship. And, you know, the schools are responsible for kind of giving it out, there's about $3,100 in that account. And last year, there was one applicant, and Janet Pantano called me and said, you need to get a small committee of people like from town and award a scholarship, right? So this year, cause we sent it over to the school and said, okay, guys, maybe you didn't know about this, but here's this town
Wow.
scholarship, get the word out. This year, I think we had 17
Oh.
applications.
Oh.
And so, and speaking of Mike Anderson, okay, who can I get? Mike Anderson, Diane Collins, and Heidi Began. They're like there, and they were so excited to be part of the process. I thought they were gonna die when they saw the, like, oh,
If you
you.
would like to join the Baker Adams process.
They were like, we love this, we love, you know, and they
Alright.
took it very seriously, and we're gonna award 3 scholarships, 3 $500 scholarships. But, you know, so funny.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Huh. Yeah, someone was talking about it recently, and I never.
You didn't
knew
even know it
about
existed.
That's
I had my
good.
kids do it last year.
But it does remind
But
me
I
a
do
little bit
think-
of Baker Adams.
You can
in-
be in college though. You can apply for it.
I thought it was,
in college
oh,
too, I think.
oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know
think.
that.
Because that's what that person was saying is, oh no, you could.
But it, you know, it
a
asks
little
for
late now.
financial information, it asks for communities, you know, school and
Service.
community service. And you did have to provide your transcript, but they required, more financial
Yeah, I
information
think they
from,
required the
from
W-2
from
actually.
family. So it was just interesting, you know, how there was more applicants this year, and I thought, that's great.
Sounds like they're well qualified to review Baker Adams.
I think we got
Yeah.
a better response this year than in previous years, just a greater number.
Did
of
we, because we
applications.
were
Yeah, we
monitoring
have a
it.
little more.
Okay, because we were monitoring and there was like 80 kids who started it, but, you know, we didn't
That
at
always
that
drops,
point.
right? I know.
Right.
How much?
I
how
think
many did
that-
we have? I think we had close
40?
to 50.
I think the confusing thing
Fifty.
is,
53 altogether.
Yeah.
and Michael, I don't know if there's a way to do anything about this, but, what was happening to a couple of the kids that actually like were panicking is I don't think they realized, because it's a pretty lengthy, you know, it's a pretty lengthy application if you have to do it in one sitting.
Right.
But you don't
And
have to, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
you
you
do, because well, I
do.
think you do, or at least the kids thought you did,
Can't
because
save it.
3 kids told me that they really had to literally do it over 3 times because they lost the
Timed out.
information. So I don't know if that's something we
You
can,
need to
Can
do
they
it from the,
save
essentially
it?
you need to do it from the same computer, because it bases it on the IP address. So it's,
Oh.
that's the,
It doesn't
that's
say
how it
that.
knows
So it has to be consistent.
your application so that nobody else can sort of pick up your application and,
And do
Oh.
whatever they.
Even if you
Yes.
have a
But it-
password?
well, it's not, no, because it uses SurveyMonkey, so it's not
Okay.
a password.
but so are you saying, Michael, if I, you know, from my computer, my laptop, that I can get off it and then get back, I can save it and get back on it?
So the short answer is yes.
Okay.
The longer answer is if whereas Colin, if the router refreshes the IP address, your computer isn't really your computer anymore.
I mean, one of these kids came over like in a panic at the last minute, said, you know, and
All the information was
And
lost,
did they
right?
fill it out? Did they end up
So
getting it?
that's why,
Yes.
I mean, and not, one of the reasons we changed the language at some point that says, here are the questions, you should really just be copying and pasting. You
Do it
shouldn't
in a
be
Word.
yeah.
Or
writing the
Google.
essay in the
Oh.
application. You should be,
Smart.
Oh, you know what? I don't know that.
Do it in a Word or a Google
Google
Doc,
Doc.
copy
And then
paste
copy
into
paste it
that.
over.
That might be
Because
a
you can go-
strategy.
maybe we need to say that louder.
I think we need to say that louder because, you know, the kids were like,
Yeah, there's.
you know, like
the friction shouldn't be the application. It should
No,
be-
that's what I said. I said
Totally.
we did the application to make it more accessible and,
Right.
and easier to complete and
Yeah,
vice
look at
versa.
that.
So, you know, just it wasn't just one kid, it was multiple kids. So I thought I should ask Michael about that to see, you know, is there some directions that they need? Yeah.
Yeah, we can absolutely look
Okay, maybe we can think about that
at the
because,
process.
Good.
thank you. Because it was great though. I'm glad we had people complete, more people complete it because it must have come in at the last minute, Nancy. Yeah.
Well, and we put a link
Yeah.
up, but it was just the last week, in
Okay.
any case.
Okay. Wonderful.
It is
Yeah,
an
so we
online
have-
application, so I think, you know, having a link that's easily accessible is a good idea for an online application.
Okay.
So 6 p.m. on Tuesday at Pearlie. So that will be the next meeting, so we'll look forward to that.
And we have what? How much money do we have? 28. How much money, Nancy, did we have to spend?
I think it's right around that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually right around that amount.
For years we had around 20, but it did pop up a
Yeah, it's
little
been
bit.
growing, so I look forward to that meeting, cause that's always an interesting one, right? That's when we.
I love when I use the
sometimes
word
I was gonna say,
disagree.
that's why we do our school committee
Evaluation
evaluation
before.
I
Right.
know. Can you imagine though if there's a change in leadership and that's the first thing they have to
Oh
deal
my
with?
God, yeah.
Speak her out.
That
Oh
would
my
be-
God.
And that's the way it works, though.
Is that the
Everybody
way it
new
works?
who comes onto the committee,
Oh,
but
that's
that's one
true,
of the
because
first
you-
challenges you're presented with. Is
Oh no.
Well, and
Okay,
for
grounds.
me, when I started on the committee in October,
Oh,
So-
right.
So
The
I-
committee should really start like
Well, that's-
September.
That's the. I think we're
Yeah,
talking
I know.
about doing that.
Oh, real, well.
Isn't that what you
well,
said?
That's what I thought you meant though, like in terms of.
No, I mean for
Because as
everything.
soon as you get voted in, you're on the committee.
Oh no, no,
yes,
but yeah,
For this new subcommittees, we're gonna do that in the fall,
yeah,
just so you
Right.
start from,
Just so we start at the beginning of
Yeah.
the school year.
yeah.
makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't think we have a you know, sometimes in our policy, they'll say this is how you build the agenda. I don't think there's
Yeah, I
anything
don't
in there
think
that
so.
says.
And
But
the
let's make sure
different
there's
ones-
nothing that says the school committee will reorganize at the first meeting in May,
Right.
cause
Yeah,
that,
I've
it might
talked
say
to
that
different,
actually.
I've talked to different school committee members and they do it all differently.
Yeah,
Like
I
some
know.
do it right, you know,
It makes
at the end of the
sense.
school year, some do it in the middle of the summer, you know, and then in the fall, so.
So are we
let's try
putting
it
it
this
on,
way.
are we putting it on the agenda for the August meeting or the first September meeting?
No, we're gonna do the school tours
Okay, the August meeting,
meeting,
yeah.
yeah, so we'll do that.
And do we have the summer dates for school committee meetings scheduled?
No, why don't we try and
Maybe we should do that now?
do that?
I think we have that upcoming in one of our meetings.
Oh, okay, well,
School
okay,
committee
that's
item.
fine, okay, that's fine. Cause we still have 2 meetings in June, okay,
Okay, yeah, so we're good for.
Yeah,
um,
perfect.
Okay, so, with that being said, so when is our next meeting?
13th.
Okay, so then we wanna wish, all the seniors a
Yeah.
fantastic, graduation, fantastic last week of school, prom, be safe, enjoy yourselves, make wonderful memories, with your friends and good choices, which I know you all will make. This class is, very special, all of them are, but it's
Fabulous
just,
class.
it's so wonderful to see every year the kids just, you know, move on to, very successful, things, and I'm proud of all of them, so I think we're all gonna be at the graduation.
except for me.
Great.
Oh, you won't be, okay,
We are.
right,
Oh, you're
be
gonna,
out.
right, you're gonna be in Florida, right?
Yeah,
But I'll be back for the 13th, the meeting on the
Yes.
yeah,
13th.
okay.
Perfect.
So, yeah, we just wanna wish them a great day, and I hope it is an outdoor, but regardless, it will be special, whether it's
Will be.
inside or outside. Senior trip's gonna be a lot of fun, I'll give everybody an update on that on the 13th, I hope the kids have a good time there, hope the weather cooperates, and, do well on your final exams. So, I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:25 PM, there is no need to have an executive session this evening.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a nice
Great.
Memorial
Thank
Day
you.
weekend.
Yes, happy Memorial Day, be safe, thank you.